What you think about when you're born into a fire. Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, we kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. Our brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away. Burn away, we feel betrayed.
Yeah, it's just a name recognition game, really, in Tennessee. People don't look at the policies. People don't watch interviews. She doesn't do debates. She doesn't do town halls. Like, people recognize her name more. Tennessee's ripe for somebody with a social media following to just come and fucking dominate the race. Like, oh, I've seen that guy's videos, and that's it.
And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race.
I've been logged out of everything. There'll be a lot of logging back in tonight, it seems like. Everything's being logged out. I don't know why. I still got to start Facebook, so it'll be a minute. You know how we've been talking about, we've talked about Kratom before, but like the new version, the synthetic version, like if you took heroin and fentanyl, right, is the 7-OH that everybody's getting hooked on. It seems like it's pretty fucking addictive. I even have a buddy that's like, he heard from a friend at work, like, hey man, they sell this gas station, helps you focus, helps you stay up at work, blah, 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 whatever. He's like, it's completely legal. You just buy it at the gas station. So he got it. And then he was doing double that and then triple that and then 5 times that and then thousands of milligrams a day in like a few weeks. It's pretty fucking addictive. Believe it or not, it would seem like most of the MAGA sphere is like in on it, including RFK Jr., the guy that's trying to get everybody healthy. Justice Department is dropping cases. Mark Wayne Mullins has invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into it. I got a video to show, but I don't know, it's crazy. And my buddy is like, he hasn't even been clean off everything for that long. Like he went to like a clinic. It wasn't like he was doing illegal drugs. He was legally doing, but he was so proud. Like he finally got to where he didn't have to go back to like a Suboxone clinic, got off of it, and then ended up at fucking gas station heroin, dude. But he's quitting now. There's a ban in Tennessee, so. Let's see what we got. Let me make sure the chat works. Facebook's up. That works. Here we go. I did reboot, so hopefully this is better.
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that.
Excuse me.
Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome, everybody. I am Will Bird, and this is the Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here, showing up, hanging out, whatever. Thank you, guys. We've talked about, I don't know if you guys remember, it was like a really short clip. It's probably been over a year ago now. You guys remember AG1? Every YouTube channel, every podcast, everybody was advertising AG1 as a company. It's like the supplements are the Wild West of fucking like health food and healthy shoppers and health this, health that. AG1 is one of the biggest players in supplements. They make a green sludge put together and it's got all these benefits. Gives you everything clinically backed. I don't want a coupon. Wait, where'd they go? AG1 now with creatine. AG1 Pro gives you everything clinically backed in AG1 Next Gen plus creatine. CAHMB and more. It's just built for performance, longevity, and those. Every big YouTube channel got to deal with this. They've got pill bottle supplements. They've got their green sludge. Trusted by Dr. Andrew Huberman. Huberman? What was I trying to say? They got a pack they send out with a mixer. Everybody was hawking this forever. Okay. This company was started by a guy that went to prison for like years and years and years, and then moved to a different country and is like, I'm gonna go into supplements, and he's made a fucking killing off of it. Like, these are horrible people running shady companies that hire lobbyists and influencers to make millions. That's who these people are. It's going to mention that in this video some, because this is the same guy that did an expose on it. But this has moved on from AG1 now to 708, Kratom, 70H, Kava, 70H, Kava and Kratom. Feel Free is the actual brand that he's talking about, but this is a problem everywhere. In fact, my buddy just told me, he works over in North Carolina, and I was talking to him the other day, and he's like, yeah, I just went into the gas station. I think it was a vape shop, gas station, like combined. And he's like, he said the guy knew I used to buy 70H because it wasn't banned over there yet. And he's like, hey, man, we got a deal going on because they're getting ready to ban it. He's like, we got a deal going on. If you buy 5, get 5 free. And he's like, no, man, no thanks. I'm just here to get some vapes and blah, 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 whatever. And the guy's, okay, well, how about buy 4 and I'll give you 6 free? And he's like, no, man, I'm good. Like, sorry. And he's like, well, here, just take this. And gave him 3 completely for free. Like, they're just trying to get rid of the shit and keep people hooked. So maybe they'll be back to buy it before the ban kicks in. And literally going to these shops, even when it was here in Tennessee, they would be like, you ever tried this? Here, take some. Take this for free. Like, they were giving out free samples. Like you see, like in primetime specials where the drug dealer gives you your first hit of crack for free or whatever. It's crazy. You just walk into a gas station and they'll give you some. And they'll be like, that's the low quality stuff. Like, I got more potent stuff. Just try that. It'll help you focus. You can work. You can do this. You can do that. Like, it's crazy. And even when I don't know what their markup is on it. It's got to be impressive because they're doing deals like when you say, nah, it's a little too expensive. They're like, okay, well, buy 1, get 2 free. And you're like, what the fuck? The price just got cut in a third? Like, I don't understand. But it's all about getting people hooked to where people are literally going to a gas station 5 or 6 times a day. They target outside factories and outside places where people really don't work, outside military bases, right? Where people are up on duty or out in the field or need to stay awake and alert. Like, it's pretty fucking crazy. But this is Scott Carney, so check this out. Let me get audio going first.
I need to show you something. This is a picture of RFK Jr. standing next to Jerry Ross, one of the most prominent suppliers of gas station heroin
Posing with Jerry Ross
in the world. In this video, I'm going to tell you how the leaders at the highest levels of the MAHA movement and at the Department of Justice joined up with a convicted fraudster to personally profit from their own manufactured addiction epidemic. And to do that, I need to tell you about this bottle. It's a health elixir designed to be a replacement for alcohol that provides relief from anxiety, improves mental focus, and makes people more at ease in social situations.
Productivity enhancer, that's a social lubricant.
I was drinking those feel frees.
My anxiety has definitely gone down dramatically.
I highly recommend you get some, you try it.
But there's another side to this health elixir, a darker one.
You know, you start off at 3 or 4, and then it's 5, and then it's 10, and then it's, you know, you're off to the races.
What are those called? Feel free? There's a lawsuit about them now. Do you know what those are?
Threw up twice in a public restroom.
When it came to withdrawing, I mean, I weaned, I tapered.
That it leads to a tragic cycle of dependence, addiction, and even death.
It's just really indescribable. I wish I could find the words to tell you how it makes me feel.
It was a hellscape like I didn't have even a place in my imagination that something could be so arduous and torturous.
This is the story about a health tonic made from exotic plants whose peculiar combination of ingredients people who are recovering from its grip say is specifically designed to get them hooked and never let them go. And despite the growing chorus of voices and lawsuits clamoring for justice, it's still available in street corners and convenience stores all around the country. If it weren't for regulations, dealing drugs would be the best business in the world. All you'd need to do to make a killing is hook a person with a quick hit of euphoria and then let them suffer awful withdrawal symptoms when they try to stop. And don't just take it from me. Take it from Secretary of Homeland Security, Markway Mullen.
These individuals that are selling it know what they're doing. They know the individuals are targeting. They know the loophole and selling it as a dietary substance. And now that industry has grown from nothing to over a $9 billion industry. More than even opioids that are selling on the street, which is at $5 billion today.
If you've been a longtime viewer, you are going to remember that about 2 years ago, I put out a version of this very video called Exotic Plants' Deadly Consequences, all about the trail of human suffering.
They also tell you that there's like a ceiling effect. You can't overdose on it. Just take as much as you need. you know, it does take more to feel it, but there's a ceiling effect. You can't overdose, which people have died off of it now, so that's not true.
Pours out of this little bottle. And I'm releasing it now because the story took a turn in a way that took me by surprise. Because Mullen, whose clip I just showed you talking about the dangers of these gas station elixirs, had to release a financial disclosure form to take his current post, which showed that he held between.
So Mark Wayne Mullen, who does press conferences, calling this shit out and saying, hey, they're targeting our kids, they're targeting our youth, it's gas station heroin, we need to get it gone, they're using loopholes, we need to do something about this. He's the guy invested in it. Botanic Tonics, LLC, Wellness Tonics. That's it. That's the company.
A $500,000 and $1 million stake in Botanic Tonics. And
somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million while he's doing press conferences talking about how it needs to be banned. Now, my buddy just texted me. I'm not going to say his name, but my buddy just texted me and said, I sent him this video. He said, that's crazy because most of the places in North Carolina are saying that Feel Free brand, the brand that he's specifically talking about, isn't going away with the 7-0H ban. They've got a way around it. I've heard some people say the owners of Feel Free were the ones that got the actual 7-0H Kratom brands ban started so they can corner the market here.
And to justify his own complicity in an ongoing crime, here's what he said about the motivations of...
It's $9 billion a year. Like, a lot of people are making money off of it.
People involved in this very business.
Because we justified it's legal, but it's an addiction that's ruining lives. It's an addiction that's truly killing people because it leads them down a road that sometimes they'll never recover from.
Okay, I need to make a little distinction.
While he's got $1 million investment in the company, he's like, hey, they're getting people addicted. They're using loopholes. They're going to kill people. I just sent them $1 million and we'll work on banning them.
It's legal, but it's an addiction that's ruining lives. It's an addiction that's truly killing people because it leads them down a road that sometimes they'll never recover from.
Okay, I need to make a little distinction here. And they're technically speaking about a formulation of kratom called 7-0H. And now, you can think of 7-0H as going from amphetamine to methamphetamine, or from heroin to fentanyl. It's a synthetic variety that's much, much more potent. But, and this is going to be very important, as you'll see in this video, the ordinary version of kratom, the way it's formulated in Feel Free, is horrifying. And it's not only him. Around the time my report came out, the Department of Justice raided a Botanic Tonics warehouse and seized 250,000 bottles. They filed a lawsuit and it looked like the DOJ was winning after the judge made motions in their favor. But then in December 2025, the DOJ mysteriously dropped that lawsuit against...
Wow, they just dropped the lawsuit? Oh no.
Ross's company. And then a few months later, Botanic Tonics gave RFK's Super PAC a $500,000 donation.
What? So they dropped the lawsuit and RFK's Super PAC got a $500,000 donation from the same company. That's wild.
Which makes what Kennedy said at that very same press conference as Mullen pretty hard to stomach.
Now they're putting them in every gas station, and they're marketed for children. They're gummy bears, they're bright colors, they're candy flavored. This is really a...
Now, they're going to say, well, the version that we support, you know, is marketed to adults in a little blue bottle, and it's 2 servings, and we don't do gummy bears, and we don't do... It doesn't matter. It's the same fucking drug.
Sinister industry.
So I have to ask you, what is worse? A noted criminal getting away with a commercial scam that takes advantage of millions of people, or a government that is directly complicit in fostering an epidemic? Now, I'm going to get back to Kennedy in a little bit, but let's first get you up to speed on how this investigation got started in the first place. A few years ago, I put out a video about a man who fled New Zealand after he was convicted in a massive real estate scheme, and then he landed in Arizona and founded AG1, the most profitable supplement company on the planet. Now, this was just one indication that the supplement industry isn't as clean as it wants us to believe. And after that video came out, a bunch of...
That's the AG1 guy. Let's back up. Let's say that again.
In a little bit. But let's first get you up to speed on how this investigation got started in the first place. A few years ago, I put out a video about a man who fled New Zealand after he was convicted in a massive real estate scheme. And then he landed in Arizona and founded AG1, the most profitable supplement company on the planet.
Giant real estate scheme, flees the country after getting busted, starts a supplement company.
Now, this was just one...
The most profitable supplement company in the world right now.
Indication that the supplement industry isn't as clean as it wants us to believe. And after that video came out, a bunch of people slid into my DM saying that I really needed to look at a company called Botanic Tonics. Not only was the founder sentenced to 9 years in jail for embezzling millions of dollars, but just like with AG1, he founded...
I think the guy that did the Feel Free, His was like exploratory oil drilling, or I think he says it in a minute. I can't remember.
His health elixir company after he was released.
I've been Googling a bunch of stuff while I was watching this video, so I can't remember what I looked up versus what this guy says.
From prison. Now people are getting addicted, sick, and at least one reported case dying because of it. While I love getting tips from my viewers, I had this sinking feeling that this story was going to take over my life. Once I started digging into just a few court documents, lab samples, and started hearing from dozens of people.
What do you think the guy who owns it, the guy who owns this company, who's apparently went through a name change, what do you think his excuse is for why this investigative reporter can't investigate him? I'll let you guess, okay? So you find out I'm running a shady company, getting a bunch of fucking MAGA hillbillies hooked on heroin, and you call me up, you say, hey, you got a comment? I noticed you changed your name. Also, you got a comment? What would be my go-to excuse? You think any good ones, chat? What if I hit you with, hey, I discovered a bunch of neo-Nazis that were going to assassinate a political figure. I testified against them. I've been placed in witness protection program. And if you expose me, you'll be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law for exposing someone that's in witness protection. I have no doubt that he knows a lot of neo-Nazis. I just doubt the rest of the story. If he's hanging out with Mark Wayne Mullen and RFK Jr., he knows all the neo-Nazis, all the prominent ones, right? All the ones that pay to get into fucking Trump Jr.'s club. Here we go.
People from the subreddit devoted to this feel-free addiction, I knew that this rabbit hole was about to turn into a quagmire. And then, out of the blue... Hello?
Hello, Scott. This is JW.
Now, that's not actually his voice, but we had several phone calls and dozens of emails over the last couple of weeks. And in this piece, when you hear that voice, it's an AI rendering that's quoted verbatim from my records. But to just give you a taste, things really did go off the rails.
To protect my and my family's life.
To protect my and my family's life, the federal government, quote, under federal seal, sealed the case of my identity change, inclusive of a new social security number, passport, and change of name. I was told I was under no illegal obligation to disclose this to anyone, and further, if I did, there would be consequences.
The federal government, under federal seal, sealed the case, and my identity change, inclusive of a new social security number, passport, and change of name. I was told I was under no legal obligation to disclose this to anyone, and further, if I did, there would be consequences.
This story has taken me more than...
So the first thing he says is, I can't tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this. I'd get in trouble if I told you this, but I'm going to tell you this right quick, okay?
100 hours to report with at least a dozen interviews, as well as background conversations with the U.S. Marshal's Office, that's the organization that runs the Witness Protection Program, and the FBI, and political lobbying organizations with billions or at least millions of dollars at their disposal. The company's founder even threatened to have me put in jail when he got wind of what I was.
The problem usually with these drugs are you'll see them moving quick, right? They're much faster than our laws can keep up, right? Almost every drug is, right? A lot of times, especially if it's a good drug, right? If people are getting hooked on it, it's way more prevalent and way too many people are making money off of it before the first lawmakers even start thinking about making a law about it, much less get a law passed somewhere. So what happens is it builds up a fund, right? It's a fucking, before the lawmakers have legislation written down and submitting it, they're a multi-billion-dollar industry. Once they're a multi-billion-dollar industry, they have lobbyists. Once they got lobbyists, they're donating money, and then the brakes come on. We can't be reactive enough. With the way synthetic drugs are being produced now, when they ban one drug, the guy at the vape shop was talking about the new weed ban in Tennessee. Like it's not technically weed, but it is weed, whatever. That the guy that owns the Smoky Mountain gas station, I believe, he's like, they'll just change the formula a little bit and send it right back the fuck over. Like it'll be another 5 years before they get the next law to ban the next substance. You know what I mean? And then they'll have billions of dollars. It'll be a fight to be drug out. It'll have a year before the law enacts and blah, blah, blah. And they'll just keep doing the same thing.
was doing. So now, this isn't only the story of a health tonic gone wrong, but how an entire semi-legal $1.5 billion industry is trying to create a new regulatory paradigm.
I don't have any issue with marijuana in any way, shape, or form. I like all drugs, to be honest with you. But I'm just saying that's how the system works. And it's easy to see in all the Delta THC products that they keep doing.
Not going wrong, but how an entire semi-legal 1.5.
Because at one time, Kratom was going to be a Schedule I drug. And I don't think anybody saw how bad it was going to get, how potent Kratom was going to get. Kratom's not as bad as 7-OH. 7-OH is a synthetic version of just the active compound. It's a lot stronger, a lot more potent, hundreds or thousands of times. Like I said, it's like fentanyl compared to like morphine. But still, I had friends that ran businesses that sold Kratom and would swear, but like, hey, this helped my buddy get off Suboxone. This helped my buddy get off Roxy's. They shouldn't ban this. This is what people's treating with, and the government wants people hooked on shit. So but there's going to be a furtherance of that, right? Like they're never just going to stop at a Kratom dose that like people like enjoy. They can use it to quit something, and then you're like off of it. It's going to go to the extreme of that. How can we get people hooked? How can we make more money? How can we make it more potent?
$1 billion industry is trying to create a new regulatory paradigm for a psychoactive and addictive Southeast Asian leaf called kratom, based on the incredibly vague laws that regulate the supplement business. And I also found out how right now you can buy this potentially addictive blue tonic at gas stations and head shops across the country, like I found out. All right, I'm driving off to pick up some Feel Free. I pulled into the Circle K. It looks like it's right there. I can buy it.
Yeah, when Salvia first came out, dude, they were fucking slinging it as just hey man, it's like a real laid back version of marijuana, and then people were tripping balls, dude, like fucking insane shit. Like it was crazy.
It's $8 a bottle. Yeah. Do you sell a lot of it?
Yeah.
How many bottles do they buy usually when they buy it?
Maybe like 4 or 5 for a single day.
That's 8 or 10 doses because each bottle's supposed to be 2 doses. Even Joe Rogan's like, my eyes aren't very good. If it's in one bottle, then it's 1 dose.
Base, energy focus, social lift. All right, so he carded me, and we got my bottle. There we are.
You want to see?
Just bought my first bottle of Feels Free, and the first thing that the guy at the counter asked me was, how many bottles do I want? And usually people will buy 4 at a time at $8 a bottle. That's not exactly cheap. Now to go find out more about what this is all about. When Feel Free came onto the scene a few years ago, it advertised itself.
My buddy was like, brutal, like I would never expose him, like say his name, but he was like on it. He's like, look, all my bills are paid. Like I'm not about to, my lights aren't getting shut off or blah, blah, blah. But like every spare dollar I had, I went into this, and I got so anxious knowing the ban was coming. I even started trying to stock up, and that caused me to do more because he knew he had more.
As a high-end health booster and was distributed in health food centers.
I'm using Kratom and 7-OH interchangeably because of how similar they are. But yes, 7-OH is the much more potent synthetic version that's a lot stronger.
Shops and even in therapist and nutritionist offices as a way to help smooth over the cravings from people who want to quit alcohol and opioids. The brand sought out.
Yes. They're telling you this is a way to quit. But even, okay, like they're going to say that they're kava roots, right? Plus not 7-OH, kratom. But people are getting, I don't know how potent theirs is. I don't know if anybody sent it to a lab or whatever, had it tested. But people are getting hooked on this 100%. Like can't quit. Have to go back to the gas station, anxiety attacks, waking up in night sweats and shit.
Sponsorship deals with major sports teams.
Because I know I'm going to have a comment after this video's posted. It's like, well, Kratom's not bad. They should leave Kratom alone, blah, blah, blah. Who regulates this? At what potency? What are we talking about?
Including affiliations with Florida State University and the University of Texas. Fraternity and sororities handed out bottles at parties on campuses, and the founder, J.W. Ross, had high-profile appearances on major health podcasts.
Can you believe that? They got sponsorships through 2 colleges and sponsored sororities and frat houses to hand out bottles. While your kids at school, they're getting them hooked on something that RFK and Mark Wayne Mullen and the maggots all support, all invested in. Could you imagine if you sent your good kid that doesn't even drink or do drugs to school and they come back hooked to some goddamn gas station bottle that was given out for free?
like Ben Greenfield and Skinny Confidential, and with Luke Story. Joe Rogan drank it before a show.
This might be Joe Rogan's secret weapon for keeping us cool.
And soon the elixir spread like wildfire. If you believe its marketing materials, Feel Free is a harmless health and mindset enhancer made from all natural.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They never do the bans right. If you want to ban something, you damn sure, first you need to step people down, right? But you damn sure better have some type of plan in place because they're going to turn to something else. No one's going to lay in the bed, toss and turn with restless legs, sweating fucking bullets, anxiety attack, like you feel like their goddamn heart's beating out of their chest and just cold turkey that shit. Like there needs to be a plan in place rather than just, oh, this is bad, we're banning it. Sorry, guys. But we also can't just let it be like, okay, well, if you do it, you do it. You know, fuck it. It's, you know, it's $8 billion industry and I don't want you on other drugs. So what? Just do this drug.
Ingredients. Its website proudly promotes how it contains kava, a Southeast Asian tree root that has been consumed socially for centuries. And there are almost no kava addicts in the world, especially in Southeast Asia, which was surprising to Feel Free customers who felt almost uncontrollable urges to drink as much of it as they could. They soon discovered that Feel Free also contains high levels of the much more potent tree leaf kratom, which the FDA compared to an opioid in a 2017 press release and linked it to 30.
Also, by the way, please support the show if you can. You do it at buymeacoffee.com/coldbeer or whatever, whichever way you like to donate. I know some people, we just got a donation a few nights ago through PayPal. However you like to donate, please support the show. The contract ended that I was working under. I'm still working. It's just I'm not being paid I'm not being paid at all, but I got a job to finish. And then I'll probably do something else, but I still got to finish the job that I'm on.
6 deaths, again in 2017. It wasn't long until people who were recovering from alcoholism or had gone through bouts of depression started getting addicted, and badly.
It took maybe 2 months or so to get to 8 to 10 a day, and then where I was, they were about 10.
I honestly thought about trying it. Like I've always had like this, I don't know, done drugs recreationally. I've been pretty open about it. I'm not going to tell you that. Like I never inhaled or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I thought about trying it until I talked to my buddy, and he's like, just don't. Right? Like you might try it and never pick it up again and be like, that's not for me. Or you might be like me and be like, I've got to get 2 more before I go home.
$10 a bottle. And so 8 to 10 a day, let's say it's 10, easy round number, it's $100 a day, 30 days in a month.
I usually don't get addicted to stuff, but I'm sure there's something that I would get addicted to. You know what I mean? Like I can't keep pulling that card forever.
2 months or so to get to 8 to 10 a day, and then where I was, they were about $10 a bottle, and so 8 to 10 a day. Let's say it's 10, easy round number. It's $100 a day, 30 days in a month, $3,000 for a month, 12 months in a year, $36,000 a year. Went on for about, let's say, a year and a half. At that level, it's about $54,000 worth of drinking this wellness tonic.
There was also this post on Facebook, which also appeared on a Reddit forum.
My daughter passed away in August from these. She became addicted to them just by trying them. She tried to stop drinking them and would be in so much pain she would slip back into it. She developed an intestinal.
Kratom did help people get off opiates. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I would, when I did opiates, sometimes I would stop and buy Kratom pills or whatever. I couldn't really stand the powder. It always made me kind of gag, even if I mixed it in something, or especially if I took a spoonful of it. People on job sites all the time used to take a fucking, like a tablespoon of it and fucking swallow it. But the pills weren't bad. They didn't give me high. I felt like they kind of cleared some fogginess, and they gave me that. If you've ever done opiates, there's like, Suboxone gets people clean too. I just don't think they should be on it for, I know some people probably need to be on it forever. Most people don't. Anyways, if you ever done opiates before, you know that like queasy, like stomach clench feeling, like you're like, oh, I'm about to be high. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's like your stomach kind of locks down and you get like this clarity and your stomach kind of just knots a little bit. Like not like cramps or like you're going to throw up, but I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it. I like that feeling. I don't know. I like that feeling. I like that. Okay. Yeah, I can feel it kicking in. Like I can feel something working. And I used to get that from Kratom. That was about where it stopped.
Blockage and dropped about 40 pounds to where she only weighed 107. Her skin was extremely dry.
My daughter passed away in August from this. She became addicted to them by trying them. She tried to stop drinking them and being in so much pain, she would slip back into it. She developed an intestinal blockage, dropped about 40 pounds to where she only weighed 107 pounds. Her skin was extremely dry. She was shaky like a 90-year-old, and she started having seizures, which she had never had before. The last seizure she had was so violent, it resulted in cardiac arrest, and we lost her. These drinks are pure evil.
She was shaky like a 90-year-old, and she started having seizures, which she'd never had before. The last seizure she had was so violent it resulted in cardiac arrest, and we lost her. These drinks are pure evil.
Later, I connected with that poster.
The new Suboxone thing that I think is kind of a miracle. I've had a buddy do this too, a different buddy. Was the shots. So like one of the things with Suboxone is you got a bunch of pills. You're giving them to people who abuse pills. You can crush them. You can snort them. You can, some people shoot them up still. You know what I'm talking about? There's a lot of things going on there. But one of the things is just having those pills, right? They might sell them. They might trade them. They might crush them and snort them. They might do too many and then suffer at different ports. They might get prescribed 2 a day, but they're really only doing 3/4 of a day. And then when they want to get high, they do more. You know what I mean? Eventually, it loses that high, and you just have to have it to feel normal. But at first, when you first get Suboxone, you get high as fuck off of them. High as fuck. But anyways, there's a Suboxone shot. It's a subdermal, I guess. It's under the skin shot that they give you. You can't adjust your dosage. You can't, like, fucking squeeze it and get more out of it. You can't, like, it's just like a lump that goes in your belly, and it's for a whole month. And it breaks that habit of going to your pill bottle, breaking it up, crushing it if you're crushing them and snorting them, or dividing your pieces up, or having this habit where I have to take one before I go into work, or before I get in the shower, before I take a shit, or whatever your routine is. Everybody's done drugs that's like done drugs for a while knows you got like a routine. Like, I don't go to work unless I've already done this, and I don't do this unless I do that first. And I don't, you know what I mean? It breaks that habit. And I had a buddy that literally went from being on Suboxone for probably 10 plus years, going to a clinic, getting pills, doing the thing, to 3 months with a shot. They started him off at the top dose. They cut it in half the next month, cut it in half the third month. He didn't even go back the 4th month and was clean. It's amazing.
Who further told me that the FDA collected samples of feel-free bottles at the scene and is conducting its own independent investigation into her death. The podcaster Ben Greenfield is one of the few health influencers to walk back some of his initial claims of support for feel-free.
You've heard me talking about this stuff that gives me pure euphoria, and I feel like I'm on drugs, but like really good drugs the rest of the day. Burns clean, crushes appetite cravings, crushes any desire for even things like wine or weed or anything like that at night. Workouts better.
I think they ought to switch everybody to this Suboxone shot. You can't trade it. You can't sell it.
Tiny little bottle.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't crush it. You can't snort it. You can't sell it. Everybody should switch to that. So now, the one bad thing was, like, he had good insurance through his work. And even with his good insurance, it was still going to be hundreds of dollars per shot. But there was a grant going on at the time. He got approved for a grant. And basically, between his insurance and grant, it got paid for. But if we take away the selling, because a lot of people go to a Suboxone clinic, you can get, like, in a lot of states, you can get up to like 2 a day, which is 16 milligrams prescribed to you 2 a day. They might only do a fucking 1/4 a day, and they're selling the rest of them. Other people are getting half of them. They're crushing them. They're snorting them. They're fucking shooting them up, whatever. The shot does away with all that. If we can get it to where it's affordable for people and just have that as the alternative and be like, here, you get a shot once a month. You can't increase it. You can't decrease it. You just do what you got. You don't have withdrawals, and we start tapering you down to the shot. You can't change any. I think that would be good for people.
Phenomenal cosmic power. I've been drinking.
It seemed like it worked wonders for him. And he was literally at the point where he was like, I didn't think I'd ever be off. I just thought I'd have to take Suboxone for the rest of my life because, I fucking do shit. I get addicted to shit.
2 a day now.
Feel Free paid him an undisclosed
3 months
to be on his show, as well as affiliate deals for products that he sold online. Now, I've known Ben for a few years, and he's active on the subreddit for recovering addicts of Feel Free and seems genuine when talking about his affiliations and the impact that his show had on the community. And I reached out to him over a messaging app that we share, and Greenfield, who intensely monitors his own health, says, well, he went a little overboard with Feel Free.
I was drinking like 6 bottles a day, and then I found out what it was. I'm like, oh, I should not be putting that in my body in excess. Now, I still have some. I might have like a bottle a week.
And then he suggested an important research direction.
The founder of the company does have an interesting history. I'll leave it at that. You can do your own digging. The podcast that I took down because Feel Free asked me to take them down. They said that it was because they might be under some scrutiny for illegal marketing practices or something like that.
Now, of course, I'd already been digging into the founder's history. This is J.W. Ross. Whether he's walking around in a jungle full of medicinal plants or calmly expounding on his business acumen online, he appears...
Yes, Andy Ogles. You can Google that. We're talking about something else right now.
...appears to be like any other founder of a wellness empire. But a strange thing happens when you start to Google his identity. Before a few years ago, well, he's a ghost. Basically non-existent. That's because his real name, it's not J.W. Ross. It's Jerry Cash. He's the...
What? The same guy was in the picture with Same guy was in the picture with Kennedy. What did he get a name change for?
Former founder of an oil exploration company in Oklahoma who got caught stealing millions of dollars.
He lost to, Andy Ogles lost to Charlie Hatcher. Is that the guy's name?
In 2009, he was sentenced to 9 years in jail, and Botanic Tonics was his next business venture. I reached out to Botanic Tonics for a comment, and soon Ross was sending me a huge number of unsolicited emails, text messages, and legal correspondence. Now, to sum a lot of it up quickly, he told me that while he was in jail, he learned of an assassination plot against a federal judge involving a
I contacted the government investigation judge and I resigned as CEO. Something against me. I was convicted of one count of false Sarbanes-Oxley certified something CFO. Was also convicted for this and for receiving kickbacks that I was proven to something is still serving. After serving a little over 3 years in federal prison as undiscovered, I practically lived in the something of quickly passed Sarbanes-Oxley law and began the process of getting something courthouse to be heard by a judge on my appeal. While in a holding cell, I discovered, I thought he said a neo-Nazi group, was planning to harm a federal judge that sentenced him. With my something that fully corroborated my story, I was transferred and met with my judge. After hearing protecting the judge from harm, I was released for time served. The federal government, under federal seal, sealed the case of my identity change of name. I was told under no legal obligation to disclose this to anyone.
A gang of neo-Nazis. He traded evidence of the plot for a reduced sentence and immediately entered the witness protection program. He said,
"Oh, I didn't change anything. That's weird, Book Girl. I just noticed that. That's the account that doesn't usually work. I haven't changed anything."
Sent me a threatening-looking legal letter that suggested that if I reported on any of his prior crimes and connected his former identity to his present one, he would use his position in the witness protection program to get me thrown in jail. So I am used to sources inventing fantastic stories and threatening.
I think withdrawals are usually bad. I'm not trying to downplay them, but like I think they affect people differently, wildly differently. Because, like, when I used to do drugs with my buddies, like, we did the same drugs and a lot of them. And, like, the next day I'd be like, "Hey, I'm going to work." And they'd be like, "Hey, I'm thinking about robbing my grandma." And I'm like, "Whoa." Like, what's going on? They're like, "Well, we don't have any drugs." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I got a fucking job." And they're like, "Yeah, well, we got to find some money. I can't do shit." I'm like, damn.
Threatening me to stay quiet and outright lying to me. But this one, I have to admit, it was new. How do I balance the directives of a witness protection program against a news story in the public interest that exposes a potential dangerous drug on the market? Clearly, the founder's criminal past is relevant to assessing the company's claims that it's totally safe and non-addictive. If you knew that this guy, walking through a kava forest, also shared a cell with a neo-Nazi and had stolen millions of dollars right before that, that could color your judgment about his health claims. So I called up the FBI and the U.S. Marshal Service to
where it feels like there's pain like inside your fucking bones.
Try to understand if J.W. Ross was being straight with
mysterious aches.
The officer I connected to only wanted to be identified as a spokesman from the U.S. Marshal Service, so I can't play you the recording. But to summarize, he said that anyone in the witness protection program who goes public like Cash has in his numerous interviews and appearances is no longer under the protection of the service. And that I was free to report on his identity and even his criminal background. I should have probably expected that J.W. Ross would have tried everything he...
So they didn't specifically say this guy is not in witness protection or this guy is in witness protection, but if somebody's in witness protection and they create a public persona and they get ousted just because, you know, they're idiots, they're obviously not in our protection anymore. You know, like if that was ever a thing, you don't have to worry about it right now.
He could to get me not to report on this piece. Because to some degree, the company seems to be in a little bit of trouble. Take these reviews that appeared on Indeed.com by former employees. The product can cause major health problems and that they try to hide that it is a drug. They also said that they start every single day never knowing whether they're going to be shut down by the feds or not. Part of that sense likely comes from a class action lawsuit that was recently filed that alleges that Botanic Tonics knowingly distributed a dangerous addictive product to the public. The suit says that initially Feel Free called itself a kava preparation, but willingly omitted any mention of the more powerful psychoactive leaf in its ingredients, kratom. Elixir users said that something peculiar about the blend of ingredients synergized into a hyper...
Kratoms include nausea, sweating, itching, dry mouth. I think these are withdrawals. Constipation, increased urination, agitation, trouble sleeping. More severe side effects include respiratory depression, seizure, tachycardia, high blood pressure, vomiting, liver failure, addiction, withdrawal, hallucinations, psychosis, cardiac or respiratory arrest, and coma. Unbeknownst to consumers, Botanic Tonics not only added kratom in large amounts, but also manipulated the formula of Feel Free to magnify the effects of kratom. So yeah, it's not technically 7-OH, but they put other shit in there that makes the effects of the kratom stronger and induce a quicker, longer lasting, and greater high. Botanic Tonics never disclosed the amount of concentration of kratom in Feel Free. The fact that it manipulated Feel Free's formula to magnify the effects of kratom, or that Feel Free had the potential to cause significant side effects. Like the 2.9 million Californians who suffer from substance abuse disorders, plaintiff Torres suffered from alcoholism after battling with his disease for years. Plaintiff entered a rehabilitation facility in 2014 and achieved sobriety, sustaining long-term sobriety. In 2020, you're going to find out that he started using this Feel Free and is now hooked on it. Not only did they change their formula and keep tweaking it and making it more addictive, they hired basically the world-renowned, the only place that's really studying kratom and how to make it stronger in the fucking world to make their formula perfect, the most addictive that it could be.
For addictive concoction, one that was tailored designed to get former substance abusers hooked.
OM. Kratom, OM.
The complaint said that Feel Free advertised itself as a safe alternative to alcohol, posting more than 1,000 ads that specifically targeted to recover.
I've seen those ads. Hey, we're not drinking for the holidays. We're doing this instead. Or are you tired of feeling hungover? Do this. I've seen those ads. They're a bunch of memes about being sober but doing Feel Free.
Covering addicts with slogans like sober curious, why not mix it up with a euphoric alternative to alcohol tonight? And all the buzz without the booze. And not your average alcohol-free elixir. Feel Free was made to be functional and facilitate states of bliss, flow, vitality, and focus. Kava and the...
And I guess kava sounds healthy, right? Kava is like a something that people would be like, oh, that's like a superfood or some shit, right? It's like a native plant. Non-alcoholic ceremonial and recreational beverage from its ground root.
Plants will give you the boost you need minus the anxiety. In other words, they allege that Botanic Tonics willingly deceived customers into taking on a potentially deadly addiction.
It's a tiny little drink, like a tonic, and it has kava and also kratom in it.
Oh, I saw him with that last night.
Yeah. Boy, I don't know what's going on with those things, what that does, but you drink a half of one of those, you're not supposed to drink a full one, you're supposed to drink a half one. Why don't they make it in smaller dosage so it's a single serving, because it's only that big?
Yeah, because it's hard to judge.
Also, I can't read without my glasses on, like that little tiny writing. I'm not going to read. This is 2 servings. Is it 1 can? Then it's 1 serving.
At this point in the story, I need to pause for a second and just say that I am hardly someone who abstains from occasional drug exploration. I regularly take cannabis when I work out. I've traveled down to Peru to take ayahuasca with shamans. And when I was 20, I drank liquid opium out of the hand of an 80-year-old woman in a village in India. I'm generally a proponent of drug legalization and think that we should all be free to make our own decisions on what we put into our bodies based on the best information possible, which is why I decided that I needed to give Feel Free a try in order to understand it better. Okay, so I'm a little nervous, if I'm going to be totally honest. I got this bottle. I put a lot of bad things in my body over the years, and I'm not a particularly addictive person. Consult healthcare professional before taking any dietary supplement. This is actually super confusing. Even if you I know they've updated the directions, they're not super straightforward.
I've heard people say it's like having the bone pain. I've never experienced it, but it's like having the body aches. That you have with the flu or something. It hurts in your body. It's not muscle. It feels like it hurts in your bones.
Oh God, it's nasty. Really bad citrusy chocolate. Someone told me that you feel things immediately, and I'm feeling something. The second it got in, mouth's slightly numb. It really is disgusting though. So if the next video I come out looking like Gollum, totally addicted, drooling out of my face, this was a really bad idea. All right. It's been about 5 or 10 minutes since
Kava is like a root they make into a drink. That's what I was reading. It's a plant native to the Pacific Islands used to make traditional non-alcoholic ceremonial and recreational beverages from its ground root.
Took it, and I do understand why they think it would help you focus. Is this somewhat like Ritalin, possibly? I do feel a little nauseous in my stomach. I don't think I'm going to become Gollum. Got into this groove about 10 minutes after taking the shot, and I got a lot of work done. And then now I feel a little bit unfocused. I feel a little bit warm, and there's
the way my buddy described it to me is he could be wired. The way when you first start doing drugs, the feeling, it doesn't last, but you could feel like you could work for days, right? Stay focused on something. But also, if he just sat down, he would nod the fuck out almost instantly. So it had it's almost like speedballing or something. You had the upper as long as you were moving, going, working, pushing. But as soon as you sat down, you just be fucking nodding out.
There's this voice in the side of my brain saying, you should take should take some more. And you should get right back to where you just were. And I find that interesting because, one, I don't usually talk with hand puppets. I don't usually have those sorts of addictive thoughts. And now I feel sort of just groggy and, I'm just sort of low. I would guess if you intensified this by orders of magnitude, doing this over and over again over the course of years or months with many, many more bottles, that down that I'm feeling now could be way, way worse. It's been 5 hours since I took Feel Free, and it feels like the day after you smoke a lot of pot. Like it feels like last night I smoked a lot of pot, and today I woke up and I feel really just like groggy and just not super motivated to do stuff. And I get it. I get what the addiction cycle is like. That's what Feel Free is about. You feel free for a few minutes, and then you want to go back on it. So yeah, I get why this is so addictive. I can only tell you what I felt while taking it. For a more scientific understanding, I had to reach out to an expert.
I'm Cornel Stanchu, and I am a clinical addiction psychiatrist.
Stanchu says that Feel Free is different from other kratom products on the market because of the peculiar relationship between kava and kratom.
The combination of these two botanicals certainly is concerning. Both kratom and kava can inhibit metabolism of certain pharmacological agents, but also of each other, which increases their potency.
There's also the issue of kratom products that are available on the market right now.
Capsules or liquid extracts, which extract just the highly potent compound from the kratom plant and really concentrate.
And one of their bigger arguments about this is like, well, this at least it's made in America. We know where it's coming from. It isn't that, the Chinese version. Who cares at this point?
To where one could ingest a capsule that may be the equivalent of, say, three.
We got fucking shit in our lettuce at Taco Bell, and everybody's fucking shitting their guts out over it, and we're worried about, well, we want to really get them hooked on the American version.
It's worth of lead. It's very dangerous.
Fucking worms in our beef.
For the consumer.
And again, Feel Free is far from the only company selling kratom. In America, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of different companies that sell various iterations of powders and elixirs that make claims as varied as a leaf being a great way to taper off your harder drugs, all the way to their own.
A 12-pack of this, I can order from their website, apparently. A 12-pack of this. And they're not 7OH, so they're going to stay around during the 7OH band. So if I one-time purchase $157.50, that's $13 a bottle, or six and an eighth for a serving. But I'm pretty sure that he paid, it's more expensive on here. He said he paid $8 a bottle in the gas station.
Own concoctions being legal morphine, which is quite a spread. While I would love to do a deep dive into that kratom industry as a whole, just reporting on Feel Free has pretty much taken over my life. So if you are looking for that sort of deep dive, I would like to direct you towards this amazing investigative feature series by the Tampa Bay Times. As varied as being a great way to taper off your harder drugs, all the way to their own concoctions being legal morphine, which is quite a spread. While I would love to do a deep dive into that kratom industry as a whole, just reporting on Feel Free is pretty much.
I don't think they should sell it as just a safe alternative to help you quit other things. It's not. You can't get hooked on
my life. So if you are looking for that sort of deep dive, I would like to direct you
to right here. Part 1, hundreds died using kratom in Florida. It was touted as safe. As companies sell increasingly potent products, a Tampa Bay Times investigation reveals the herb's toll. It isn't this ceiling effect. It isn't this you can't overdose. It's all natural, blah, blah, blah. It's just not true.
Amazing investigative feature.
As dangerous kratom products go unregulated, lobbyists write the laws. While officials grapple with the Wild West marketplace, industry-friendly regulations are popping up in Florida and nationwide. Kratom's road to U.S. dominance is cloaked in deception. The Tampa Bay Times investigation reveals a popular kratom brand's secret supply chain from Indonesia straight to Florida.
Feature series by the Tampa Bay Times last year, where a team.
Florida lawmaker pushes for congressional hearing on kratom. Florida senators move to add labeling restrictions on kratom. 5 ways to make kratom marketplace safer. Kratom investigation by Tampa Bay Times stirs up action and reaction. How the Times reported this project, the Tampa Bay Times tested 20 kratom products. Here's what we found. Also, they're all over the wall. Like how strong they are, how potent they are, what chemicals are actually in them. Because it's not just pure kratom, right? No one's buying pure kratom. They got fillers and packaging and liquids and whatever. Kratom tied to overdose deaths across the state. Kratom's meandering trail from Indonesia to consumers in Florida. a major U.S. kratom brand relies on a maze of companies. Here's the list.
A team of reporters uncovered the full stretch of the kratom empire from Southeast Asia through the ports in Oakland all the way to Florida. They found numerous distribution and processing centers in Texas, Colorado, and Georgia, and cataloged more than 500 deaths in Florida alone.
500 deaths in Florida, and the people at the gas station are selling it that you cannot overdose.
While they don't have national statistics, back-of-the-envelope calculations suggest that the total body count in the last decade is likely in the multiple thousands. Now, you might ask why kratom is so widely available in America. Why haven't regulators stepped in? Well, the fact is that they tried. Back in 2016, the FDA petitioned the DEA to...
And I'm not going to lie, I was one of the people being like, hey, I've heard really good things about kratom. I don't know why they're banning it. Right? I've heard people, got off opiates and did this, and it seems like they want you hooked on, a bottle full of pills from the doctor rather than this that seems pretty natural. And from the stories I'd heard, I'd only tried it to get high. I wasn't trying to quit anything. That I'd heard people say, talk to people personally that claimed that they got off whatever using kratom.
To list kratom as a Schedule I drug so dangerous that it wouldn't even be available for medical study. But by that time, kratom already had a sizable market and enough money to hire lobbyists like MAHA from the American Kratom Association.
My involvement came when the president of the AKA at the time called me and asked me if I would join their lobbying team because I've had extensive experience in dietary supplements. I previously worked with Orrin Hatch, who was the champion of dietary supplements, and I worked with him on the enactment of the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act in 1990.
This is the guy who makes up the regulations that make sure that nobody can ban anything ever.
That's right. This is the same lobbyist that made it almost impossible for the FDA to regulate the supplement industry beyond labeling their products accurately and not making specific health.
So the big deal is they can't make specific health claims. They can't say this will improve that. That doesn't stop you from taking it and being like, telling your buddy, hey, this gives me focus, this gives me energy, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. Or someone in the gas station from saying it. They just can't put on the bottle that this fixes something or helps with something or treats something.
Health claims.
So there was a 1994 act that prohibited the FDA from regulating supplements before they went to market or testing them for safety or efficacy before going to market. So basically, it's up to the manufacturers to make sure the products are safe and effective, and we're just going to trust them, and then they're going to go on the market.
Which, of course, are a whole world of billion-dollar supplement grifters. For more about that, see my video on AG1 or even the work that I've done on Andrew Huberman over the last few months. Here's Haddo.
Andrew Huberman is a piece of shit. He'll hawk anything and then talk about how he's an expert in it to just make $1.
Again, no vendor in the kratom space is permitted to use a therapeutic claim on a product in order to convince a consumer to purchase their product. That's barred by law. That doesn't mean that a consumer cannot consume a product for a health benefit that they perceive or actually experience.
So kratom exists in...
So Andrew Huberman is he works at Stanford University, the School of Medicine there, and he's an associate professor there. But he's also the director of Huberman Labs, which is he's into neuroscience and all that shit. But Huberman Labs is the supplements and wellness and podcasts and yes, I'll hawk your product. I'm amazed by it. I can't believe it. So he brings this air of knowledge, right? He's the expert and he can tell you, and he gets tons of people hooked on shit.
In this regulatory gray area, about 5 states have banned it, but it's still widely available across most of the nation. The lobbying efforts of the American Kratom Association promise to make this a long and drawn-out battle. Okay, so let's bring all of this up to the present day under MAHA. One thing that has struck me since I first dug into this story is how the ephemeral regulation around supplements has seeped into just about every aspect of American health policy. Now, RFK Jr. founded MAHA in part to dismantle the financial interest between big industry and the health recommendations and scientific literacy.
And that's probably good, okay? It's probably good that there isn't like this giant conglomerate that decides, well, these are the standards. We're the only people that make the drug, blah, blah, blah. But we also shouldn't have every fucking mom and pop shop coming up with their own brew of like, hey, take this, it'll knock that right out of you or whatever.
He correctly identified serious problems with conflicts of interest in medicine, and he capitalized on the resounding dissatisfaction that we all have with the American healthcare system in general. And in a way, that's all good. Unfortunately, the methodology that he used to fight these large healthcare conglomerates is to instead open up the playing field to small-time grifters selling just about any health and wellness.
Yeah, Andrew Huberman has one of the #1 health-related podcasts in the world, I'm sure.
Product from stem cells to peptides to gas station elixirs without requiring any evidence or oversight
twice a week
at all. Instead of like big pharma, what we have is little wellness and little pharma everywhere. And I don't think that's better. Jerry Ross, he saw this coming though, and he was an early backer of Kennedy's presidential campaign, donating just over $300,000 to Kennedy's super.
God damn it, dude. It's just, You just donate money and then you can do whatever the fuck you want to make more.
In 2024 and 2025. While Kennedy did not secure the presidential nomination, the donations gave Ross access to Kennedy and an invite into the inaugural MAHA ball. And all of this paid off a year later when the Department of Justice decided to drop its case against Botanix, which resulted in yet another $500,000 payment to Kennedy.
So almost $1 million. Right now we're at over $800,000. $300,000 before, $500,000 after they drop the case.
So the lobbying efforts that are being done by Botanix are very clearly it's sort of like, you know, your heroin dealer being like, we really don't want that synthetic Chinese heroin in here, fentanyl in here. What we want is just our totally natural heroin, and that's a key distinction, which makes Kennedy complicit in the current situation.
They showed us maps of the places where the vape shops and the smoke shops where this stuff is being sold, and they're around military reservations in our country. And there's, the DA has done measurements of urine in our troops.
Military reservations is a weird... Has anybody ever heard that? I've never heard that term used. Military reservations? Like that reservations like a hotel or like that Indians live on? Like Native American reservations? I've never heard anybody use military reservations.
Which makes Kennedy complicit in the current situation.
They showed us maps of the places where the vape shops and the smoke shops where this stuff is being sold, and they're around military reservations in our country. And there's, the DA.
I think he just meant installations, military installations.
And measurements of urine in our troops, and they're skyrocket. The more it's directly correlated to the number of vape shops in their area. They're putting them around schools, they're putting them in our ports, neighborhoods, and now they're putting them in every gas station.
Kennedy is the one putting these on every gas station corner right around America.
At least if right now you can go into basically any gas station and get it unless your state's banned it all already, 70H. At least if they kept them into a place where you're supposed to be at least 21 and up, like a smoke shop or something, that's better than just going into a gas station.
Don't be fooled by his rhetoric. The various subreddits and online forums devoted to Feel Free say that there is something special about Botanix proprietary formula that seems to be almost scientifically designed to foster addiction. And to back that up, the company certainly hired some of the best kratom scientists from the only program that studies it in the country to help consult on the product, and I presume develop it.
I'm Dr. Erin C. Berthold. I got my PhD from the University of Florida in pharmaceutical sciences. My research group focused on studying complex natural products like those produced here at Botanix.
It could be that simply mixing those two components is enough to synergize into a particularly addictive brew. But there are other theories out there too. In his message to me, Ben Greenfield speculated that the secret to their success was that they fermented the kratom.
I sent the bottle from my own stash off to the mass spec guy on Instagram who did a full mass spectrometry analysis of it. And basically, it contains exactly what it says it has in it. Like, it's not laced with fentanyl or opioids, all this stuff that people are claiming. It's just kava, but the thing is they ferment the kratom, right? So it hits you a lot harder. And people who might do just fine with normal kratom are probably going to get addicted to it faster. It might hit harder.
There's at least some evidence that this is the case, including a shipping record posted online that they imported a beer fermenter from a company in China. It's also clear that lots of kratom that comes into the country is already pre-fermented. It's hard to know for sure though, because J.W. Ross, aka Jerry Cash, is adamant that their product includes no intentional fermentation whatsoever.
We damn sure do not purposely ferment product and that we would quickly go out of business having to destroy it. On a personal note, myself and my family drink it regularly, and I would be crazy to not be as diligent as possible on quality control.
He sent me several documents showing their testing policies and noted that...
Hey, my family's hooked, so I know it's good.
He is a recovering alcoholic. He has a core principle never to include alcohol in his products, which is sometimes a byproduct of fermentation. While I dug pretty deeply into the fermentation question, ultimately all I can say is that I'm not sure. But does the chemical process really matter when we have evidence from so many accounts of people who are totally hooked? I come back to this question a lot. How do we balance the freedom we all want to have to make decisions for ourselves against the public interest to stop people from harming themselves? Ultimately, I don't think that Feel Free should be illegal. Banning drugs often just creates an illegal market, but I do think that there needs to be more information out there about what kratom and Feel Free actually are. JW and I traded close to 100 messages over the course of me reporting the story, but he was always hesitant about coming directly on camera. He asked me if he was going to end up on my playlist, The Liars, Cheats, and Charlatans of the Griftoverse. And when he realized that he probably would, he sent me a note that he forwarded from one of his resellers, which you can read in full if you'd like to.
I was just thinking this morning about alcohol versus Feel Free and have worked in the booze business for 20 years. I did see a lot of devastation from the effects of alcohol overconsumption. There really was no positive effects from alcohol, only that it brings people together in celebration. In my 2 years selling Feel Free, there has been countless personal rewards for my customers and their consumers alike. Insane workouts, the ability to focus and get work done, attend social functions with more ease, the ability to stay awake and alert driving, and many, many more. The people that buy Feel Free are professionals that need to get a lot done. I've seen firefighters, nurses, doctors, lawyers, authors, managers, and high-level executives benefit from the product. Our brain is wired to focus on the negative 3 times more than the positive, probably because we strive for our own level of perfection. So remember all the positives about Feel Free because they far outweigh any negatives, and we are making a positive difference in this world by selling it every day. Happy selling. Notes like these are what keep me going. If I ever feel we're not serving the greater good, then I'll stop selling it. Like this anecdote has anything to do with anything. Hey, man, I feel like we're making people into fucking Superman. So how about we just keep selling it? You know, I feel like people have larger erections, you know, and I'm into giant erections. So I say we sell it. It doesn't make it. Who gives a fuck what this one reseller said? That's not the argument here.
That his business partner believes that Feel Free is helping far more people than it hurts. And then he signed off with this promise.
If I ever feel we are not serving the greater good, then we will stop selling Feel Free. Until then, we will work to do a better job informing and educating consumers. We will also continue to do more clinical work to get a deeper understanding.
So I'll leave it to you. Do you think Feel Free is serving the greater good? Maybe you can send him a note through his website or in the comment section down below this video for how you would have him address this problem. Most people that I spoke with who had been hooked on Feel Free had absolutely no idea what they were getting into when they cracked their first bottle. They thought it was a natural alternative to alcohol and that there was no way something so easily available over the counter could be so dangerous. And many of them spent tens of thousands of dollars feeding that addiction. That money went right into J.W. Ross's pocket. It's not like he has any actual incentive to keep people safe when the regulators are hamstrung by lobbying efforts from enforcing public safety principles. He's taking all of that money right to the bank. The main problem, as far as I'm concerned, is awareness of the dangers of these relatively new substances and what they actually do and the harm they could potentially hold. Everyone knows what happens when you drink too much alcohol or take too much caffeine or smoke too much weed or get really, really high on cocaine. But not everyone knows what happens when you take a seemingly random medicinal leaf or rack up a 10-bottle habit of Feel Free over the course of a few months. We need that story to get out into the world. So if you've made it this far into the video, what I want to ask you is to help out in this effort. I want you to post this video to your social media feeds and even more efficiently and effectively send it to a friend directly and warn them about what might be lurking for them at their corner shop. They may already be drinking Feel Free. Let them at least know what could happen. And if you're someone struggling with addiction to Feel Free, there aren't a lot of resources specifically devoted to the topic just yet, but I highly recommend that you check out the subreddit. I've linked to it down below. You could also check out the Kratom Addiction podcast, where you can hear stories about other people who have struggled just like you. The one piece of advice that every recovering addict told me said that their road to salvation started when they told just one person about the struggle that they were having. There's a lot of shame in admitting that you have an addiction, but taking that first step will make all of the difference. And remember, there are thousands of people just like you struggling with the same things. Thanks so much for tuning in to this update about Feel Free.
I want to, while we're here and talking about this guy, I want to show you the AG1 guy. We don't have to watch the full video, but it's this, well, we might as well. It's 28 minutes. We'll speed it up. Criminal powder. This was his previous investigation he did, and I think he's done updates since then. But this is the AG1 that everybody was hawking. I did cover this like a year ago or so, but it was like a short clip, a snippet kind of deal.
Ashington, a convicted criminal and the founder of the billion-dollar supplement company AG1. AG1 hired the most powerful defamation lawyer in the country to kill this video before it ever aired. But as you can see, it didn't work. What if a tasty green smoothie drink could meet all of your nutritional needs?
Giving your body what it needs can sometimes feel really complicated, but it doesn't have to be.
What if the same slurry of specially formulated macro and micronutrients was endorsed by some of the most influential scientists on the internet?
Beneficial effects of supplements include improvements in our gut microbiome through the ingestion of critical micronutrients in the proper ratios.
What would you pay for something this simple, this beautiful? Could you even put a price on it?
This was $99 US. It was 90 quid. It was 180 Australian dollars for this tiny little pouch.
If you've been on the internet or listened to just about any podcast in the last few years, you've probably heard something about Athletic Greens, or AG1 as it was recently rebranded.
We're Athletic Greens, here to make healthy habits beautifully easy for you.
Lately, AG1 has come under a lot of flack for not really living up to the hype.
A popular health trend creating quite the stir.
What do you think about like the proprietary blend in Athletic Greens?
All these people, everybody, every YouTuber, every influencer had an AG1 deal. It was crazy. I mean, bigger than me. I didn't have an AG1 deal because I'm a fucking nobody, but everybody was, had a big following, had an AG1 deal.
Example, Athletic Greens 1 or AG1,
because if you think about it, like if you take it on its claims, right, it's this powder, it gives you everything you need and you can do this and it's just a supplement. And honestly, supplements are kind of a big waste of money. You should really have some type of test done to see what you need more of, what you need less of, because when you take like a multivitamin or whatever, most of it you piss away. But there are valid reasons for supplements, right? But who would get mad at somebody for, like, oh, you sold out to big supplements? Well, not really. This might help somebody kind of deal. It's not like you're taking like fucking tobacco money or fucking Tesla money when Elon's doing all this crazy shit. Like AG1 wasn't that bad of a deal. There's not many people that turned it down, I'm sure.
Quality greens powder is a little misleading.
I did AG1 about getting their certificates of analysis to see what the heavy metal load is or the mycotoxin profile, and they refused to share it with you?
Correct.
And while, yeah, I'm going to get into its actual nutritional claims, I'm also going to tell you a story that is almost completely absent from the internet. One that took me on a deep dive into court records on 2 continents, consulting with scientists all over the world, and into interviews that are easily available, but just about no one saw. This is the story of how AG1's billionaire founder, Chris Ashenden, had to flee his native country of New Zealand after he was convicted for 43 breaches of the New Zealand Fair Trading Act for a massive rent-to-own real estate scheme. While some details are still unclear, it is clear that he built dozens of people out of hundreds of thousands of dollars and then went on the run. After hiding his money in a Byzantine maze of corporate shell companies, he showed up in America like the villain from The Music Man and founded the most successful supplement company on the planet, not based on science, but on what he thought people would buy. Ashenden's mostly spirulina empire was built in the shadow of a documented scam. Now, there is a story, of course, of AG1's nutritional effectiveness or lack thereof. That is hugely important, but it's really only part of what's really going on. I've searched news sources all across the internet, from recent coverage in the New York Times to the lowliest blog, and what truly astounds me is that despite hundreds of journalists digging into what AG1 is all about, basically no one bothered to look at the publicly available information about its charlatan founder. Ashenden doesn't give a lot of long-form interviews now that he's climbed into the billionaire echelons, but I did...
When my audience was bigger, I got ad deals. We've done some ad deals. We've done some charity events. I used to have a much bigger audience. It was when I was pro-Trump / turning on Trump, and then after Trump, it's went downhill since then. It's not a big deal.
It's fun.
I mean, I would take ad deals. I just don't have the audience for someone to pay for it right now.
Is one on a tiny channel that just has 2,000 subscribers by Coach Dana Cavella, where he opened up about his origins.
I sat down with CEO of supplement company Athletic Greens with Chris Ashenden.
So let's go back in time to 2010, when Ashenden was just another Kiwi trying to make a buck. Now, he'd gone through some hard years, taking a stint as a used car salesman, and then as a police officer, all the time thinking of how he might one day make it big.
I started a sports science degree at Auckland University. It's a 3-year degree. I got right to the end and dropped out to start my first company, which was a nutrition company, a supplement company, and that didn't pan out. So that was kind of the beginning of my formal entrepreneur.
Eventually started taking in self-improvement books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad that promised that he could will his way into fortune by changing his mindset about things. And then he found a book on real estate, an industry that is thick with people who swear by the law of attraction.
Basically, from what I understand from his scheme, I'm sure he'll describe it more, the guy locked people into these 30-year rent-to-own schemes, and they were vulnerable people that couldn't buy a house the traditional way, and they actually ended up with no legal ownership or titles to the places at the end of it. Like, even if you made it all the way, the goal was you would fail before you ever reached the 30-year and made all your payments. But even if you made it to the end, it doesn't seem like anybody got fucking deeds and titles.
And he was off to the races.
So I read a book on real estate on how to do up and sell houses. And
his thing was like, why rent? That was his slogan. Why rent when you can buy?
I'd invest in property, and I could suddenly see how. Like, I can do that. I can see how to do that. Buying houses, doing them up, and either selling them or renting them. That was sort of my first sort of successful business foray.
Now remember, this all happened in the wake of America's real estate crash that ultimately sank the global economy. Ashenden was just one of a whole flock of speculators ready to cash in on other people's misfortune. In his native New Zealand, he began advertising a shady rent-to-own scheme where he promised people a chance to own their own homes by renting their way to financial independence. The catch was that while he promised people ownership stakes in the properties that they were renting, the reality was that Ashenden remained the owner on the deeds. According to the judgment by the New Zealand Department of Justice, by encouraging vulnerable people in the mistaken belief that they were acquiring home ownership rather than a package of rights and obligations, which, on any view, fell far short of that concept, folk were lured into commitments which were a recipe for disaster, in which they lost most everything that they put into the property that they were seeking to acquire. Indeed, they were given to understand they had acquired.
The $5,000 emotional harm reparation sought for those who were evicted or who walked out is consistent with awards in other cases, but modest in terms of the impact on not only upon purchasers themselves, but like they were just paying rent. They were never getting any closer to ever owning these homes. But they thought they were.
Let me explain how bad these deals really were. According to the Commerce Commission, if the people who signed up with Ashenden wanted to leave their homes for 30 days or more, or made unauthorized home improvements of any kind, or missed a payment by more than 28 days at any time over the course of 30 years, then Ashenden's company could seize their home and retain all of the money that they'd been paid over that time. But that's not all. The renters had to maintain the house in the same condition it was purchased in, or it could be forfeit, which is insane if you think about the 30-year term of the contract.
What house is going to stay in the exact same condition for 30 years? It's just not, right? Oh, this is damaged, or you did this, or this looks like it's worn out, or the paint, and you just have a clause to fucking end it.
All this time, they were paying above market rent for the privilege of likely never achieving true home ownership. To make it all the more egregious, Ashenden employed so-called tame lawyers who were paid specifically not to explain how risky the deals were to the clients and how likely they were to default. All told, the case involved 90 charges, 43 against Ashenden specifically, while 47 more charges against the companies he founded. I'd like to be clear here. The charges happened in a criminal court. While I petitioned the court to get the exact description of the charges, the judgment frustratingly does not mention what they are specifically. AG1's extremely powerful lawyers have been very vocal that the charges are not technically fraud in a strictly legal sense. Given some of the things that I'll get to later in this video, it's not clear to me that this legal team has a solid grasp on the case. For now, you can make up your own mind for yourself about the statements of the New Zealand court and what they actually meant. I have links.
It seems like the quote is misleading consumers through deceptive rent-to-buy practices. Not technically, I don't know how their laws work there, to be honest with you. He's been found guilty of breaching the Fair Trade Act, fined $237,000 and ordered to pay $42,764. He ran a home financing scheme where his companies, the Home Finance Company Limited and Maguro Limited, purchased residential properties in South Auckland. These were marketed using phrases such as, why rent when you can buy? But the people who signed up were granted only the right to occupy each property under a 30-year installment agreement with various property investment companies. On the property's titles, the investment companies were recorded as their owners with their own mortgages registered against them. Purchasers through the scheme then made weekly payments of principal, interest, rates, taxes, and insurance to the real owners, and were also required to fund any repairs to the property. We can't do both. The court found it was not made clear that the occupiers of their agreement had not given them legal ownership of the property until the end of the 30-year period. On sentencing, Ashenden and his companies, Judge Moore said the offending contained strong elements of cynicism and the calculated exploitation of vulnerable people.
Down to the original documents below. The judgment said Ashenden displayed, and I quote, strong elements of cynicism and the calculated exploitation of people.
He just said that.
Ultimately, the case was going so badly for Ashenden that he even stopped defending himself in court. He dismissed his legal team, filed for bankruptcy, and then fled the country. Here's how Ashenden explains those years.
After that real estate piece, I traveled the world for a while. Then I had a finance company. All of that stuff got wiped with the global financial crisis. I had some pretty dark times with litigation, bankruptcy, sort of absolutely going back to the bottom of the well and then dig out and come out. I'll be honest, man, I was hitting the bottle for a little while. They weren't good times from a psychological standpoint. So it was the psychological health, and I was insanely passionate, and I still am, man, about the fundamental drivers for happiness. And I think, again, one of the things I'm most proud of is I could have gone for shortcuts when I was in that hole, and I'm really proud of the decisions I made to just build something.
The shortcuts were taking vulnerable people in, pretending like they were buying a house and never letting them buy the house.
Thing that I would be proud of for the rest of my life.
The New Zealand Department of Justice, on the other hand, put it this way. Mr. Ashenden's alleged creditors point to a complex structure designed primarily to confuse the courts and make it difficult to enforce the judgment. Mr. Ashenden's petition for his own bankruptcy in this country seems directed at ridding himself of modest obligations by way of credit card debts and student loans. And that is quite a way to spin going on the lam, isn't it? Now, there are a lot of details that I'm sure other reporters will follow up on. What I do know is that America is the land of reinvention, a place where a person can get a fresh start. In New Zealand, Ashenden discovered that there are ethical and fiduciary requirements in real estate transactions, but the world of wellness and supplement slinging in America has basically no regulation whatsoever. It's the perfect environment for an international grifter to thrive.
The supplement industry in the U.S. is virtually unregulated. It's kind of a Wild West.
That's Christy Harrison, a journalist, dietitian, and author of the book The Wellness Trap.
I think supplements are such great targets for wellness grifters because two things, that there's such a lack of regulation in the supplement industry, so there's no meaningful oversight, really. They can go to market.
And short of like, unless it's killing somebody, most people aren't going to judge people for taking these brand deals. They might judge you if you're like the inventor and you knew it didn't have, but like if you're being told these claims, you have testimonies, you have these good reviews, the guy is science-based or used some type of science-based wording and people and an air of legitimacy, no one's going to get mad at you for hawking a supplement. Look at how long Alex Jones has been able to do it. Alpha Brain and fucking wolf piss or whatever he sells.
Very quickly, it's not this billion-dollar investment that a pharmaceutical company would make the brand new drug to market. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is that there are huge profit margins in that industry.
Here's Vicky Nguyen on the Today Show asking Ashenden about the health claims on the back of his bag.
An asterisk next to each of these claims. What do you say to people who say, well, then why should I spend $3 a day on this?
We actually have to put the asterisk there to state that while there is a hoard of scientific data that the ingredients exist inside this product that can substantiate those support claims, those specific claims have not been validated by the FDA.
Not been validated by the FDA. You've probably heard those words before. It turns out that the Dietary and Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994, or the DSHEA for short, pretty much allows supplement companies to claim almost anything short of saying that they can cure a specific medical condition.
Supplement companies can only make what are called structure function claims, which is to say like supports kidney health and function, but you can't say cures kidney infection.
So instead of specific health claims, Ashenden mastered the art of promoting the beautiful AG1 lifestyle, drinking smoothies after a workout in rainforests and just stopping short of wording that might upset the FDA. And let's pause for a hot second here and remind you that it doesn't really take any actual credentials to start up a supplement company.
There's people that literally their job is bring a supplement to market, use certain promoters, and here's the language. We can go all the way up to X, Y, and Z, But if you say ABC, we're going to get in trouble, right? But you can say all these things, but not those things. Just like I also think it's crazy that like when you're applying for like federal grants and shit, there are companies that specialize in writing grants in the way the government will be acceptable to them and take like 20% of the fucking grant. And it's so crazy that when you're in these higher levels, like competitively trying to get this grant or this money or this funding, that if you don't use one of those people that like have these lobbying wings and this, that, and the other that know the right people, shake the right hands, kiss the right babies, you can't get a grant. So there's an entire market just built off those people. That's their only source of income. Being friends with politicians, understanding how they want their grants presented it the right way, giving them a wink and a nod, and taking 20% off the top.
Recently, the gynecologist Jennifer...
It's like mafia shit, dude. Edison Motors went through it. You guys know Edison Motors, that electric tractor and trailer company that, well, it's diesel electric. Like it's a generator that I'm really partial to. We watch videos of them all the time. Like they didn't pay the right grant writer and fucking didn't get, even though it seemed like the grant was perfectly made for them, they didn't even get the grant. Some other company did because they paid the grant writer and paid 20%.
Did the math in her newsletter that she could create her own brand of menopause-delaying turmeric powder with special bioavailable black pepper for as little as $28,000 to found the whole company. That includes packing and shipping and all of the details that it takes to provide her own proprietary blend of Flim Flam. And now, sure, that's not free, but it's shockingly low for an investment when you compare it to just about any other business. When Big Pharma wants to put a drug on the market, it can take billions of dollars and years of research to clear the regulatory hurdles. Meanwhile, anyone can start a supplement company tomorrow and face basically zero oversight. And like any business, the profits scale up with more investment. Gunther ultimately figured out that she could make $195,000 of profit on a $100,000 investment, and that is good money. All she needed was a marketing plan. And this is where Ashenden shines. Sure, he arrived in Arizona in 2011 at rock bottom. He was $5 million in debt and had no prospects other than a reading list of eternal positive thinking. But ultimately, all he really needed was a complete lack of regulation.
And to be in the US, which, I mean, if you want a most spectacular country in the world to go forth and build something, just period. And
his strategy was crushingly straightforward. He would convince famous and successful people that his green slurry of proprietary nutrients would fix all their health problems for a share of the profits off of each sale. The beauty was in the simplicity and the gorgeous marketing materials.
So I thought, who are my early adopters who are most likely going to both get this and help me spread the gospel? And it was health and fitness professionals. It was trainers, nutritionists, naturopaths, people who were coaching people in weight loss and lifestyle dynamic, and it was one great partner at a time. So I literally went looking for the smallest group of people who I thought would deeply understand what we were trying to do, and then figure out how to help them share the message in a way where we could both win. And that was my business plan.
Look, the concerns he identifies are real. We all want to be healthy, but health is complex. Answers are not straightforward. There's nothing simple about it. And, if you just watch Ashenden's interview, there's nothing that suggests that he has a deep knowledge of human health or biology. He's not a doctor. He's a former used car salesman. I mean, it's a little like the company Theranos, where Elizabeth Holmes dreamed up an amazing product where hundreds of diagnostic tests could be done on a...
She's the most famous grifter, right? One drop of blood, we can test everything.
Single droplet of blood, but she had no technology to back
it was all a lie and a fake accent. Very weird.
She identified the problem and just told people she had the solution. And she raised billions of dollars in investments. Unfortunately for Holmes, her specific claims fell under FDA regulation. But Ashenden was clear to sell his simple product without any actual evidence of efficacy.
It could be hundreds of dollars a month. And there's no science to support the claims that they're making.
I don't know. There's so many supplements that even if we said, okay, now the supplements follow under the FDA or the XYZ, how do you even stand up a testing procedure for so many fucking products that would all have to be submitted, pulled from shelves, wait till they get the right fucking approvals and blah, blah, blah. Be insane.
And that's not even getting to the fact that they have this like 75 ingredient proprietary mix. And this proprietary...
Then they just sell them as a different way. Like when they were selling salvia here in Tennessee for a while, they were selling it as potpourri. Like do not smoke this. Do not get high from smoking this. It's just in this bag that you're supposed to smell it. It smells good. Like they would just find other ways to sell it, right?
Mix is a loophole that they're trying to use to pretend that they're protecting trade secrets. So they want to say they don't want to release their full proportion ingredient mix because, well, someone then could reverse engineer it and they could compete with them and they could get their market share. But the reason they're actually doing...
Are we somehow in Australian movie night for some reason?
Is because the dietary supplement industry is unregulated.
That's Andrea Love, a friend of the channel, and I've done some great interviews with her. With a little bit of luck and hard work, Ashenden expanded his company and reinvested in marketing, ultimately targeting the most influential people in social media. Tim Ferriss loved the simplicity of Athletic Greens. He featured it in his bestseller, The 4 Hour Body, and soon the supplement took off in a big way. In this interview with Ashenden, Ferriss slyly promotes AG1's health shake for its disproportionate gains. AG1 was, at the time, of course, a major sponsor of his show.
Obviously, a handful of experiments in there that you were involved with. If you take a post-workout shake, most of the time you should take it before your workout. I saw that in my data. So a lot of really simple ways to track a few very simple things for extremely disproportionate return on investment.
AG1 thrived because of its partnerships with media influencers in a time when it was increasingly difficult to make money as a creative professional on the internet. I mean, you probably remember that podcasts found their first sponsors with direct mail companies like MailChimp, and then security companies like SimpliSafe, and then prepared mail sent directly to your home. Eventually, most of those advertising opportunities sort of dried up. Meanwhile, big brand car companies and luxury watches and pharmaceuticals did not and have not invested in small creators. And this left a void for AG1 to fill for any influencer who wanted an affiliate deal. AG1 reportedly spends $2.1 million a month on affiliate ads. They also signed more
Holy shit,
with top influencers like Andrew Huberman and Peter Attia, both of whom ended up as scientific advisors, even though neither has any sort of specialty in nutrition. Huberman is a neuroscientist who specializes in ophthalmology, and Peter Attia is trained as an oncologist, meaning he treats cancer. Now, I've done videos on both Huberman and Attia, and I do not want to get bogged down now on the specifics of their shaky scientific communications. Suffice it to say, though, that out of all of their sponsors, AG1 is by far the most...
Doesn't RFK Jr. support methylene blue and that shit, too?
...problematic and the most profitable, and they both know that its research is just not up to snuff. And I digress. Let's take a step back from the business model and sham science behind AG1 specifically. Many people have noted that AG1 is far from the only bad actor in the supplement industry. This week, as I was preparing this video, I posted my thesis on Threads, which you have to know is where all the action is on social media these days, so go sign up for a Threads account if you're not there. Anyway, I suggested that AG1 is basically the Theranos of the supplement industry, and then Hank Green, yeah, that Hank Green, responded. This is what he wrote.
Hank Green's in hot water this week, by the way.
The thing is, this will surprise no one, as the supplement industry has always been and remains in many ways the Theranos of industries. But I wish you luck. And thanks for the love, Hank. Say hi to your brother. And of course, Hank was right. Supplements are the Gibraltar of grift, a free-for-all. And it's important to ask, beyond being the biggest nutrient slurry affiliate marketing shake on the market, has AG1...
Hank Green came out and said he's addicted to LLMs, and he's been using them to write his videos.
...done any actual harm? Answering this question is tricky because...
He still says that he verifies everything, but he uses them to grab research papers, make himself more productive, and he thinks the endorphin rush or whatever that he gets from it is addictive, and he needs to change some stuff up. So people found some like direct sentences from AI and some of his stuff. And look, if you use, there's different ways to use AI the same way there are to use Google, right? You can ask Google to objectively help you find something and go down the trail and do the research. Or you can front load Google to give you the answer that you fucking want and only click on the links that you want. You know what I mean? So I can understand he puts out a lot of videos, a lot of channels, a lot of stuff. I can understand him using AI in a correct way to get information to bring to him and still reading that information and coming up with his own ideas. Reddit will not cut you that slack. If you use Google AI search to find a paper and they find out about it, you're fucking done.
There is a type of harm that happens when people spend money frivolously in the hopes that they're getting something that will improve their lives in a measurable way, but it doesn't happen. And there's another type of harm that can occur when a customer opts to use AG1 instead of actual medicine for an acute condition. And these cases are not well recorded in any data set that I could find. Sure, there's been grumbling on the internet, but what else? Well, one place to start looking is the FDA, in particular a subdivision called the Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition, which collects official complaints related to just about every product sold in grocery and drugstores across the United States. Naturally, there are hundreds of thousands of products on the list. Customers filed 63 official complaints against the brand. Unfortunately, the FDA does not provide a lot of information about what was in those complaints specifically, except to label AG1 potentially suspicious. And there have also been lawsuits in the United States that have been concerning. In 2015, the Environmental Research Center Incorporated...
I can remember a time when you went on YouTube and like every other fucking video you clicked on was sponsored by AG1.
...sued Athletic Greens over high levels of lead that it detected in the product in California. Now, the two parties settled for about $78,000, and Athletic Greens agreed that it would include warnings about potential lead exposure on its packaging to everyone in California. But AG1 doesn't include that warning anywhere else in America, and I did check that, which leaves me wondering about lead content in the product in general. A second lawsuit, this one from 2020, also filed in California by Travis Edwards, who worked at Athletic Greens as the head of global fulfillment and distribution, claimed that he was fired because he reported to his superiors that he had discovered mold in the ingredients that the company received to make the green slurry shake. He told his boss that they should return the moldy ingredients to the suppliers and get a refund and not ship them out to the world, but he alleged that the company simply didn't listen. Instead, they shipped the spoiled ingredients out to their customers. 3 months after he started making noise, Ashenden and AG1 fired Edwards in what he said was an attempt to silence a whistleblower. Now, though I reached out to Edwards, I never could figure out why the case was ultimately dismissed. Still, it's pretty shocking that AG1 might not have cared about shipping contaminated products to its millions of customers. It's indeed possible that some of the complaints filed with the FDA last quarter could go back to a sloppy supply chain. Ultimately, to me, the biggest problem with AG1 is how they sell false hope to their customers. Known grifter Chris Ashenden found a mostly unregulated niche and used his inspirational marketing to dupe millions of people into spending $100 a month on a questionable nutrient shake. In some ways, this is the most American story story I have ever heard, where even the most destitute grifter can show up on our shores and then reinvent themselves with hard work, gumption, and a flashy business plan. It's unclear to me if any supplement maker has ever faced serious consequences in American courts. While I was preparing this video, Athletic Greens started following me on Substack, and I immediately asked them for a comment. They got an early access to the video, I think through my very affordable premium membership plan, and then they emailed me with a few clarifications. A spokesman at AG1 wrote that Ashenden has never been charged with an arrestable offense, and that all fines and retributions were paid by September 2014. AG1 further denies the allegations by Travis Edwards about mold in the supply chain, and that AG1's in-house research team continues to develop and refine the formula for AG1 based on scientific evidence for efficacy and safety for the ingredients that we use. Before moving on, I want to just pause to say how insane talking with AG1's team actually was. This wasn't just some lowly PR person or run-of-the-mill legal counsel. AG1 retained one of the most powerful lawyers in America to respond to my initial reporting that appeared on Substack. Megan Meyer, the founding partner of Meyer, Watkins, Phillips, and Poosh, was one of the people behind the $787 million defamation settlement against Fox News in the Dominion voting machine case. Her bio states that she has, quote, nixed false stories before they were published and scored countless corrections and retractions from the national media. Now, if you think that this is overkill for dealing with a channel whose average video barely breaks 2,000 views, you're right. It was clear from our interactions that AG1 didn't really understand the facts of the case, insisting repeatedly that Ashenden was tried in a civil court. It wasn't. Meyer wrote that I was potentially defaming Ashenden by calling him a criminal, which he technically is because he was convicted in a criminal court. But finally, Meyer provided me with a document from the Ministry of Justice of New Zealand that stated that Ashenden had no criminal convictions. And this really confused me because the judgment looked pretty clear to me. And then on further research, I realized that New Zealand conceals criminal record convictions for non-jailable offenses after 7 years. And the letter that they sent me was dated from 2019. All this proves to me is that the criminal charges that he was convicted on didn't carry jail time. And honestly, this feels like it was all part of the same grift that Ashenden has been using all along, to use what privilege and marketing resources are at his disposal to confuse and obfuscate the truth of what's really happening, whether it's selling impossible real estate dreams to destitute people, impossible healthy nutrient shakes to an uncritical audience, or now trying to nix my factual reporting with high-priced lawyers and misleading documents. As you can see, it didn't work. Instead, I lawyered up, triple-checked my facts, and dug in my heels. If anything, the heavy-handed approach has only drawn more attention to this project with a huge influx of amazing new subscribers on my Substack. And incidentally, if you're going to subscribe to the channel, do it on Substack because Substack is where I have the most control over the information that I send to you. And before I go, I want to leave you with a few words from Andrea Love.
So is it surprising that he is fraudulent? No, it's not surprising. It's also not surprising that he fled to the US. Again, I'm not 100% familiar with the regulations in New Zealand, but the regulations on supplements are extremely lax here. And so it's an obvious place to go if you want to fly under the radar and make a lot of money by exploiting people.
And with that hopeful note, maybe that's all I have to say about AG1 for now. If you happen to be watching this video with ads inserted, I will bet you that there's at least a small chance that YouTube played you one of their ads over the course of this video, and there's absolutely nothing that anyone can do about it. Let me know if it does play down below. As Ashenden says, he is very grateful for everything this country has done for him. Thanks so much for everyone who has supported this channel over the last few years. I'm making a few changes to my exclusive offerings over the next few months, which is going to include the launch of an 8-episode true crime podcast about grape fraud in California's wine country. Oh, and also murder. It's called Bloodvines, and I'm going to give early access to my premium supporters on Substack in what will be a pretty big reorganization of what
check out Scar Carney.
Internet. So consider signing up and becoming a premium member. Anyway, there's a lot to look forward to.
He does good work. I don't know. I just can't believe RFK Jr. and Mark Wayne Mullins are out here bitching about it and talking about how it needs to be taken off the street, and they're both invested in it. Like, what the fuck?
You know, nobody likes to lose, but the results are in. And look, we fought a great race. Charlie fought a great race, and at the end of the day, he prevailed. And so I called Charlie and congratulated him. You know, his orientation will overlap with the end of my term, and I offered whatever assistance that I can give him to make sure that he transitions into this role seamlessly so that he can serve the 5th District of Tennessee. It has been an absolute honor to serve Tennessee as a member of Congress, and I look forward to helping Charlie as he transitions, and then helping any of you throughout the remainder of my term. To my family, God bless you. And I love you. You know, nobody likes to lose.
Andy Ogle's loss.
Look, we fought a great race.
Abdul Al-Said won against the woman with the butthole mouth, the Jew hands or whatever.
I'm Curtis Sertel. I'm the chair of the Michigan Democratic Party. It has been a long night, but it's also been a long 2 years for the people of Michigan. The people of Michigan were promised by this president that their wages would go up, that their prices would go down, that they'd be tired of winning, that there'd be no more foreign wars, the Epstein files would be released, and all of that has been a lie. And what I can tell you is the energy, the enthusiasm, and the fight is on the Democratic side. Yesterday was the highest turnout for Democrats in the history of a Michigan primary. And more importantly, over 500,000 more Michiganders voted in the Democratic primary than in the Republican primary. We have a great ticket. Oh, Jocelyn Benson, our current Secretary of State who has fought for our voting rights, will be our next governor. Ellie Savin, who's been both a prosecutor and a fighter against corporations that have poisoned our water will be our next Attorney General. Garland Gilchrist, who has been an amazing lieutenant governor who has fought to end Republican rule in Lansing and has passed the largest tax cut for working families in history, brought 30,000 kids out of poverty, and ended the first state in 70 years to end right to work, passed the largest investment in education, the largest investment in housing, will be our next Secretary of State. And after last night, a fighter, a true fighter, and that is what people want, Abdul Al-Sayed, will be our next U.S. Senator. It's been a long campaign across Michigan.
Did you see what Trump said about him?
And a huge turnout of excitement. But what's important is
he hates all Jews. He hates Israel. He wants them all killed.
The Democrats.
He can't help it. He just hates them.
That's right. We are united in the fact that every person deserves health care in this country. We are united in the fact that the cost of living is too high for American families, that it is ridiculous.
He wanted to say the rent's too damn high, I could tell.
Family has to decide between the cost of prescription drugs and the cost of rent or housing. That they can say.
I do like the way he's taken the words away from this, like universal health care, Medicare for all, whatever. And he's saying, look, most people already pay for insurance through your job, through this, or you're getting Medicare and Medicaid. You know, they say that, you know, Medicare doesn't work, Medicaid doesn't work, but try to take Medicaid from an old person or Medicare from an elderly person. They want to keep their shit, don't they? So why would you not just pay through your taxes the same exact thing, and instead of everybody having to get a job that offers it, just do it through the government? He's de-weaponizing it.
Whether they can afford to take that vacation or even send their kids to college. It has become impossible to raise a family in Trump's America. And so we have got to work together to take this country back. And I can tell you what we need is a fighter and a public servant. That's right. Whether it is in the Detroit Health Department or the Wayne County Health Department, Abdul Al-Sayed has been a fighter for the people over and over again. He has stood up to corporations and made sure that the people are always at the front of the line when it comes to their needs. And we juxtapose that against Mike Rogers. Mike Rogers served in the U.S. Congress, left there and enriched himself from the work that he had done, made millions of dollars on the backs of people fighting for corporate greed over and over again. He moved to Florida, and then he decided to move back to Michigan, but he decided he wanted to be a senator. The people
Cameraman collapsed.
of Michigan said no 2 years ago, and they're going to say no again in 2026. And what I can tell you is that I'm proud of Abdullah.
He talks a little bit too much.
They will be
Put your hand up and run.
Please join me in welcoming Abdul Al-Sayed.
I just want to say how grateful I am to my colleague, Senator McMorrow, Chairman Hertel, to all of our incredible supporters here. What a race. You know, in the words of Muhammad Ali, we shook up the world. And I want to say, just first and foremost, how grateful I am for the opportunity to participate in democracy. My family immigrated to this country from a place where there is not democracy. You cannot just put your hand up and run. And the ability to do this, to have our voices heard, to select our leaders, it is a gift that sometimes we take for granted. So to have participated means so much. And to my fellow participants, I just want to say how grateful I am to you. Senator McMorrow, you ran an incredible race. You fought to end the corporate corruption in our politics. You took on the power of AIPAC. You were willing to speak truth to a level of power that sometimes is unbeatable. And I just want to say thank you and how grateful I am to have your support here today. I cannot wait to see what you do next. And I hope that for as long as I'm in this work, that we can be in this work together. Thank you. To my colleague and friend, Congresswoman Haley Stevens, we shared a great conversation this morning. And I know that it was a bitter end to this very long primary, but I also know that Haley brings the best of herself to her work. She is one of the most committed public servants that you'll ever meet. She loves democracy like I love democracy. And whatever differences that we
some might say the cool kids
so long as we
on the interwebs.
All of us have to come together to make sure that we never let Mike Rogers see the inside of the U.S. Senate. So, Congressman, thank you for your race. And I have to say a few more thank yous before we talk about.
Yeah, Mom Donnie was on with Jon Stewart and said, imagine if today we came out and we advocated for this place where the government goes in and invests and buys a bunch of books and loans those books out so people can come read them. They can read them there. They can take them home. They can keep them for a set amount of time. They bring them back. It's all free. It's all funded publicly. Like Republicans would be against that. right? Socialism. And it's fucking libraries. You couldn't get libraries done right now because the way the Overton window has shifted.
About where we're going next. First, I got to thank my wife, Sarah. Yeah! I really, when we decided to jump into this race, I knew that it was going to be tough for me, but I also knew that it was going to be particularly tough on
God damn, we got fucking Michael J. Fox on the main camera here. What's going on?
family, and the fact that she held it down alongside her medical practice, alongside making sure that our daughters didn't experience this without thinking life was just normal. That takes just an extraordinary amount of effort and sacrifice. So I just want to say how grateful I am to you, love, and I'm so honored and thankful that we get to continue this. 20 years on has been a hell of a ride. I owe her a 20th anniversary on our 21st anniversary because we definitely didn't get one of those this year. To my daughters, I know that they're not watching, but you know, I wish this meant
I'd take some goddamn Dramamine to watch the press conference.
I'm with you, but give me 3 more months. To everybody who put their shoulders into the work, anybody who made a contribution, who knocked on a door, who made a phone call, who put
You're welcome.
into this democracy, who gave us your stake in democracy, this movement, this moment is for you. And I just can't say how grateful I am to have earned the votes that we got. We took on a machine. You're not supposed to be able to beat $70 million of outside spending, a record amount of money spent in a campaign against a Democrat in a primary in any campaign. You're not supposed to be able to beat that. And what we showed is that the power of our many is greater than the power of their money. What we showed is that if you're willing to build a movement.
This was AIPAC's top spend ever on a single race against this man.
Brick by brick, if you're willing to go and travel your state and have the conversations in rooms.
Dude, I believe the fallout against the Israeli government has just started, and it's just going to keep picking up steam. Time to make a break.
And small, starting in moments when people aren't even paying attention to an election, but are paying attention to the price of gas, and the price of groceries, and the price of housing, and the price of healthcare, that you can build a conversation that builds into a movement that defeats Goliath. This is what you all show. And my hope is that our democracy will never be the same. So when Big Pharma and Big Tech, when DTE and Blue Cross come and knocking saying, you know what, this is our democracy and we're going to own it, from here on out, we can always point and say, no, this is the people's democracy, and
They spent $32 million just against him.
Always own it. This would not have been possible without the incredible efforts of so many allies and allied organizations. I got to give a special thank you to my first endorsers.
Outside groups spent a total of $63 million to support her. $32 million of it came directly from AIPAC.
Bernie Sanders, the OG, who came in on day one, put his entire shoulder in the work. I just hope that I can help to carry some of that load in the fight for working people and Medicare for all that he's been carrying for all of this time. To the UAW, the unbeatable UAW. As a son of immigrants, son of a father who came to this country to build cars, I gotta say that this is still the best place in the world to make an automobile, and that is because of the fighting UAW, but it's also the best place in the world to build a family because of the fighting UAW. And our work is about making sure that the folks who want to sell our democracy off to corporations and special interests don't get to take that away, and I stand in lockstep with our UAW sisters and brothers. To the AFT, the National Nurses United, the AFGE.
The problem I see with people splitting from Trump is there are people splitting from Trump, right? They're dropping MAGA. I feel like a larger percentage of them are going further right than they are coming back to the center.
The AAUP, thank you so much for your work. To all of the advocacy organizations who made this possible on the ground. Folks like the PCCC and Move On. Folks.
Now, can he win in a general election? I certainly hope so.
Like a Working Families Party, all of the constituency organizations who knocked on doors and made phone calls, thank you so much for putting your shoulder into the work. I also have to thank all of our endorsers, 300 strong, who came in, spent their time with us, came from just down the street or came from across the country to talk about what it looks like to build a movement of the people, by the people, and for the people. I want to say how grateful I am to you. We built this campaign brick by brick. Back in April, I remember talking to a room of 5 people.
It was close. It was like, the early reporting I saw was like 48.5% to 47.5%. And then somebody else drew like 4% or some shit.
A discussion that most people will never clock, but it was an opportunity for us to share an honest conversation about pain and about purpose. And I've been able to have 500 more of those discussions over the past 15 months. I trained to be a doctor, and the single most important moment that makes a clinical encounter is that moment that somebody shares their pain with you, believing that you can do something about it. I don't practice medicine, as has been well documented by all of you. But I hope that I get to practice that part of things. And I've been able to practice it, but it requires people being willing to share their pain with you so that you can do something about it. That is a moment, a piece of vulnerability people give you because they believe that you can actually fix it. It's an investment, sure, in a campaign, but it more is an investment in democracy. And as we traveled our state, we were in living rooms in Lansing, VFW halls in Escanaba, basements in Grand Rapids, churches in Detroit. I got to meet so many of you, Michigan, so many. And you shared both what caused pain, but also what brought purpose. And we forged a movement out of that to get money out of politics, put money back in pockets, and pass Medicare for all to guarantee health care in this country. And for our troubles, the corporations, the special interests, who would rather get to decide who our elected officials are than let us decide who our elected officials are, they spent an unprecedented amount of money to beat us. Attack ad after attack ad after attack ad after attack ad. Wall-to-wall ads. But it turns out that the commercials are the part of the television show most people don't want to watch. It turns out that you can spend as much money as you want on lies, but it doesn't make them true. It turns out that when you're able to reach out and dignify somebody's pain, people remember that a lot more than a 30-second ad played on a loop on television. And it turns out that when the people want something in this democracy of ours, the people can get that thing if we're willing to do the work of that. And that's exactly what Michiganders up and down the state showed. 12,000 volunteers knocking nearly 10,000 doors.
He lost in Detroit, but he won Kent County, which is Grand Rapids. He won it by like 28%. And he won Washtenaw County, which is Ann Arbor, by like 24%.
A day to defeat an unprecedented amount of outside money, $70 million. But right now, as bitter and as divisive and as cynical as the campaign against us might have been, I want us to realize that there is so much more that unites us now. Because the campaign that Mike Rogers and Donald Trump and their GOP MAGA allies are launching is already more bitter. All you gotta do is look at the ads you're already watching on TV, started today. You know, they think they want to use my whole name against me. Mike, listen, man, if you can't say the name, it's Abdurrahman, keep the name out your damn mouth. I'll be happy to give you lessons. But they understand that the only way that they think they can win is to drag us into the mud, to believe the worst about each other, to believe that what divides us is bigger than what unites us. They want us to think that the reason some of us ain't got is because other people got. But it turns out that the reason so many of us ain't got is because of the system that has corrupted our politics to take it away.
I think Dearborn's in Wayne County, right? He lost Dearborn. Or he lost Wayne County
that we are taking on
against Stevens.
That movement to get money out of politics, put money in your pocket, pass Medicare for all, it is a big movement. So if you supported me or you did not support me, if you voted for Vice President Harris in 2024 or you voted for Donald Trump, if you believe like me that you ought to be able to afford your groceries, if you believe like me that you ought to be able to afford your home, if you believe like me that your tax dollars ought to be invested in you rather than sent somewhere else, if you believe like me that a government of the people, by the people, and for the people is our birthright in this country, if you believe like me that we have a responsibility to stand up and walk with our union so that everybody has collective bargaining rights in this country, if you believe like me.
Me too. I'm kind of fucked right now without that grant, but Mariah's supposed to be starting a job soon. She's excited about. Let's see how that works out.
That you want to have the guarantee of good health care in this country without some corporation trying to tell you what you cannot have and should not fight for. I hope that you'll join this movement now.
I put money in savings because I knew this was coming, but it's not going to last forever. Oh, another stroke.
Speak specifically to an issue that has been focused on in this race. To my Jewish American sisters and brothers, one of the most indelible memories of this campaign will have been the opportunity to break bread with you at Seder, to worship with you at Shul, to be embraced by you. And listening to sisters and brothers who said, you know, I want to join this movement because AIPAC doesn't speak for me. Because I understand that self-determination for one
the radical left, the maniacs are trying to destroy it with the disaster known as not socialism, communism. It's communism. These are communists. And the polls were wrong again last night when they thought it would be a landslide victory for a hater of Jews and a hater of Israel. This guy hates Jews. Somebody said, oh, that's a little strong. No, he hates Jews and he hates Israel. Abdul El-Sayed. You believe this? This could only happen to me. Abdul El-Sayed, lovely gentleman. He's a man of hate. And now he's going around saying, no, I love everybody. He doesn't love everybody. Put him in office. You're going to find out what he loves. He doesn't love Israel. He doesn't love Jewish people. He hates them. He hates them with a passion that burns in his heart, and there's not a frickin' thing he can do about it. There's not a thing he can do about it because he hates them. And in Michigan, it was really very close to this press, the polls, and the polls by the press, oftentimes the press hires the polls. They want to have it a certain way, but the polls got it really wrong because it was supposed to be a blowaway, and he almost lost. But he's going to lose to our great candidate. We have a great candidate in Michigan. Great candidate. But the socialist candidate ran up big margins against the communist candidate in Detroit, and I was saying that probably it's corrupt. You know, it's probably corrupt. I don't know who the hell they wanted. I couldn't care less. We do better. Actually, we do better against the communists, according to every poll. The poll says we do better against the communists. So he won, and so I think I'm happy I put out a statement. Congratulations to the Republican Party. The communists want to take their ruinous and deadly ideology of misery and squalor to every state in America, but we're not going to let them.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or
there's nothing he can do. There's not a damn thing he can do about it. He hates them. Nothing he can do. He just hates. He hates those people.
Also got the attention of President Trump today, who was in Las Vegas this afternoon and launched this lengthy attack against him.
Abdul El Sayed, lovely gentleman. He's a man of hate. And now he's going around saying, no, I love everybody. He doesn't love everybody. Put him in office. You're going to find out what he loves. He doesn't love Israel. He doesn't love Jewish people. He hates them. When I watch Abdul, he's full of shit.
Before we get into everything else, and there's a lot for us to talk about, what is your response to the president?
I'm glad he thinks I'm a lovely gentleman. A lot of people think so. Look, this is the response that they have. You notice what he talked about. First, look at the background. It says no tax on tips. The man can't stay on focus. That's like the one thing that he did to offer any economic relief. But instead of that, he's more focused on me and what I'm going to do while we're living through an affordability crisis that is generational. People are paying nearly $5 in gas because of a war he started, and half the time, if he's not talking about me, he's talking about the drapes in his ballroom. So at the end of the day, I invite the president to focus on what I'm saying. I want to get money out of politics, put money in your pocket, and pass Medicare for all. I think a lot of Michiganders want that right now. And if you ask yourself about safety of people who pray differently, you heard what Donald Trump was saying about people like me. What do you think he was trying to highlight? He was trying to highlight aspects of my name and my faith in what is a play toward a kind of Islamophobia that I think none of us really want. So look, I understand what it's like to be made to feel unsafe.
Some of us don't want it.
Is to take him on so that we have a politics that embraces all people, whether you're Jewish or you're Muslim or you're Christian or you're Hindu or you're Sikh or you don't pray at all. You deserve to feel safe in this country. You deserve to feel safe in the Democratic Party. I'm committed to that.
El Sayed's projected win also got the attention of President Trump today.
God damn, dude. That's wild, dude.
Abdul El Sayed.
He hates them. He hates them all.
This could only happen to me. Abdul El Sayed, lovely gentleman. He's a man of hate. And now he's going around saying, no, I love everybody. He doesn't love everybody. Put him in office. You're going to find out what he loves. He doesn't love Israel. He doesn't love Jewish people. He hates them. He hates them with a passion that burns in his heart, and there's not a frickin' thing he can do about it.
Not a frickin' thing he can even do about it. He can't do nothing about it.
Win also got the attention of President Trump today, who was in Las Vegas.
He just hates them. Birthright citizenship round 2 up to the plate.
Donald Trump just signed 2 new executive orders attempting to block birthright citizenship. So here's what is likely to happen. If you recall from a year and a half ago, as soon as these sort of things happen, a bunch of cases get filed, motions for preliminary injunctions go through, and decisions are made, yes or no, are they likely to succeed, whatever. Here's the thing. Because of the Supreme Court case that just came out, and because it was a 6-3 decision. Now, there's been some discussion about Kavanaugh's wavering, let's say, and my guess is that that's kind of going to be what this new EO is going to hang on. It's going to be sort of pushing into trying to leverage Kavanaugh's vote. But the thing is, that still doesn't change it. It's still a 5-4 vote even without Kavanaugh. So my guess is what's going to happen, a lot of these cases are still open. So they can just amend them to include that EO, to enjoin that EO as well, like tomorrow. And the court can go ahead and they don't even have to file new stuff. The court can just go ahead and start enjoining it with the same injunctions, and it is very likely to succeed considering that the Supreme Court just ruled on this. So this is going to be...
I think it's placating to his audience, right? Well, you told us you was going to get rid of birthright citizenship, and you didn't. But he's like, hey, it's in the works. We got to find different ways. The same way he was going to bring back the tariffs, remember? They struck down his tariffs. He's like, oh, we got new ways. They'll be back in no time.
I'm guessing kind of a flop. But, you know what? We'll find out, won't we? We'll go on the journey together. Donald Trump just signed... Donald Trump has managed to keep these...
Hold on. I want to see what this clip is.
I love to show the texture and this wave pattern. Again, it looks like you went and got a blowjob at your blowout at your salon. Oh my God. And it looks beautiful.
It looks like you went and got a blowjob at your salon.
Today, we're having a huge beauty sale. Everything ships to you for free, but that goes away at the end of the day.
It's a wig on CVC they're selling.
A one-time only price, where the price goes up at the...
Hold on, I can show you the clip, I guess. I was like, what the fuck is everybody laughing at this for?
The end of the show.
I love to show the texture and...
She doesn't even turn around. She just says, oh, my God.
This wave pattern. Again, it looks like you went and got a blowjob at your blowout at your salon. Oh, my God. And it looks beautiful.
All right, so here's what's happening today. We're having a huge beauty sale. Everything ships to you for free, but that goes away at the end of the day. I will remind you that this is a one-time only price, where the price goes up at the end of the show.
Funny, though.
I love to...
Seventh seal on the Trump revocable trust closed for another moon cycle, my friends. I don't know what sort of plague Donald Trump has managed to keep the seventh seal on the Trump revocable trust closed for another moon cycle, my friends. I don't know what sort of plague happens when that thing opens, but I know it'll involve gold. Yep, showers of... Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm Brino, and this is the Morning Report on the federal courts for August 6th, 2026. Please double tap your screen, comment which of Grandma Trump's secret dessert recipes is hidden in those files, and watch the first minute of this video so we can hit the FYP. Please check my support links. There's a Venmo, a Cash App, all kinds of stuff. BrinoDC.com/support. You can also sign up for a paid Substack subscription to keep me running. Very much appreciate it and help me keep doing this. All right, grab yourself a nice hot coffee, which I have lost somewhere, and let's catch up on the news. All right, first we are going to hit some political news, so let's talk Fauci. All right, so the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs has voted to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress. Dr. Fauci appeared before the committee but refused to answer any questions, invoking his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. The committee argued that because Dr. Fauci was granted a blanket pardon for any activities performed during the time period in question, he cannot incriminate himself, so he cannot invoke the Fifth. Of course, that pardon does not extend to charges at the state level, where, for example, Louisiana has already said it plans to pursue charges against Dr. Fauci. But the actual law here wasn't really relevant this morning. I've reported on this a couple of times because it's an interesting legal anomaly, but the actual law doesn't really matter in this sort of vote because it's not a legal proceeding, it's a political proceeding. Unlike a judge in a legal proceeding whose job it is to interpret what the law says, the job of an elected representative is to do whatever they think you, or whoever elected them, sent them there to do. So whether or not Dr. Fauci has a Fifth Amendment right didn't matter in that vote. They can debate about it all day, but at the end of the day, elected senators get to just choose whatever they feel like. The only consequence is that you might vote for somebody else next time if you don't like what they did. But now things take a turn. And this brings us to our second story for the day, which is a perfect counterpoint to the Fauci case. So next up, we're going to look at U.S. v. Navarro, which was decided by the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals just a couple weeks ago. Dr. Peter Navarro was also called before Congress and also refused to answer any questions, and he was also held in contempt. In this decision, the D.C. Circuit held that his contempt charges will stand. So let's talk about this a little bit because it gives us some insight into the contempt of Congress process and what Dr. Fauci might be facing. So, I said this is not a legal process, but it's a political process, and that's true up to a point. But once Congress has found that contempt charges are appropriate, like they did today, then the charge gets turned over to the Department of Justice, who files a charge in court. And at that point, it does become a legal process. There will be a federal judge making decisions and everything. Now, one of the primary elements of the crime of contempt of Congress is being held in contempt of Congress. So that part is done for Fauci. That's not really a question anymore, and the court doesn't really get to reconsider that, probably. What they are likely to consider is whether he had a valid defense. And both Drs. Fauci and Navarro asserted defenses to the contempt of Congress charge. Well, presumably Dr. Fauci, we'll see. But slightly different defenses and slightly different circumstances. So let's take a look. Now, Dr. Fauci, unlike Dr. Fauci, Dr. Navarro says that his communications were with the president, and therefore he doesn't have to say anything to Congress because it's all protected by executive privilege. So he's asserting an executive privilege defense. And spoiler alert, the D.C. Circuit says that no, executive privilege only belongs to the president, not to anybody else, and the president didn't invoke it here, Dr. Navarro did. And that's not a thing. Dr. Navarro could have asserted it if the president had invoked it, but he didn't. Now, Dr. Fauci says he has a Fifth Amendment protection, which the Senate says doesn't protect him because he's already been pardoned. So the court will have to decide whether Dr. Fauci or the Senate is right here, just like they did with Dr. Navarro. But usually if somebody refuses to testify on what's called good faith advice of counsel, what their lawyer told them to do and they believed in good faith, they'll usually have an excuse for refusing to speak. There's like a whole line of Supreme Court case law on that. So why did the D.C. Circuit Court find that Dr. Navarro was still guilty of contempt of Congress if he claims to have relied on good faith and advice of counsel? And what does this mean for Dr. Fauci? Well, in this case, the timeline, the facts are going to be what's important. Now, the Navarro story is just a little bit complicated here, and the trial court went into a lot of details looking at emails and stuff to prove who he did and didn't talk to and in what order before asserting his privilege. You can check that out if you'd like for yourself. But the basic idea is that the court found Dr. Navarro was ordered to appear before Congress, and he made a decision that he wasn't going to show. And he made that decision without getting the president to declare the information privileged or getting his lawyer to weigh in first. He just decided that the information he'd be asked about was protected by executive privilege, and then he just sort of blew them off.
Right.
So the problem here was not only that Donald Trump himself had not explicitly invoked the privilege, but also that Dr. Navarro never asked counsel before he made the decision. So there's no privilege and no advice of counsel to rely on. Dr. Fauci, in contrast, showed up at the hearing with his lawyer and said, hey, my lawyer's here. He says I shouldn't say anything, and in good faith, I'm going to follow his advice. So there's a reasonable possibility that Dr. Fauci's case will come out a little differently, though we'll have to see. Okay, so there are two takeaways here. One, a little bit more important for Dr. Fauci. The first is that the court has reaffirmed here that good faith advice of counsel is still a pretty good defense to contempt of Congress, as long as you actually seek advice of counsel. Two, a little less important for Dr. Fauci, but probably worth keeping our eyes on, is that executive privilege must be invoked by the president. So his little minions can't just invoke it on their own, which is probably notable and maybe important later. So keep your eye on that one. All right, last story. A judge in Florida has granted Donald Trump's panicky last-minute emergency motion from yesterday, temporarily staying the discovery in his defamation case against the BBC. Now, back in December, Donald Trump filed a defamation case against the BBC, claiming that not only had a statement by the news organization hurt his own finances, but those of other business entities, including the Donald Trump Revocable Trust. So, in response, the BBC demanded to see the financial records of the trust to prove that there had been a financial loss, which is
no.
But Trump, understandably, did not want to turn the records of his revocable trust over to a bunch of journalists. So he argued that because the revocable trust was not a party to the lawsuit, it shouldn't have to turn over its records. Well, about a week ago, a judge disagreed. If he's going to rely on the claim of damages, he has to turn over the proof. And he had to turn them over today. So Trump was panicked last night, and so he changed his story yesterday. And he said he wanted to refile his complaint, saying there had been financial losses, but, quote, he no longer intends to pursue a damages theory premised on injury to the plaintiff's brands and businesses. Which does make you wonder what's in those revocable trusts that's so scary. Is it Ivana's secret to the perfect beehive? I guess we'll never know. Because this morning the judge said, well, if you're not going to rely on that information, then it may not be necessary discovery, so until we're sure, I will stay the discovery order. So, the discovery order is stayed, quote,
I want to see what's in that trust.
The plaintiff's motion for leave to file first amended complaint. Now, interestingly, something I noticed, and the judge actually pointed out, is that both Donald Trump's filings and the filings on behalf of the Revocable Trust were filed by the same lawyer, which does make it a little hard to argue, as Trump did, that the Revocable Trust is a different entity that is not a party to the lawsuit. And how is that true when both essentially represent the same person and have the same lawyer? It would seem that they would also have the same interests, or they'd need different lawyers to avoid a conflict of interest law, but what do I know? So that, guys, is your morning update on the federal courts. Check my support links and Substack and my YouTube. I very much appreciate it. And just keep watching. And
this is the rundown for the whole week, by the way. That's why there's multiple stories. It's a longer video.
All right, everybody, have a great Thursday. Donald Trump has managed.
All right, guys, that's the rundown for the week, and I guess the stuff we're looking forward to coming next week. It's now officially Friday. It's 1:30 here. Thank you guys for joining us. Please consider supporting the show. We're in kind of a tight spot right now, but we should be through it in a month or so. You can do that at buymeacoffee.com/coldbeer if that's something you want to do. If not, that's cool. Fuck it. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. See you about the next one. Have a good night.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, You don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believers? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like fool in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine with Trump in between. Put on a light coat
Good night, guys.
and saluted the troops. He's happy.